Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 5 of What If Naruto Life has been turned into a RPG game. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Later. Disused clearing, forest on the outskirts of Konoha. Uzumaki Naruto landed in the clearing with a large scroll slung over his back. He had even changed back to his casual getup to keep Mizuki from getting suspicious. While the scroll on his back was not the forbidden scroll of seals, it had not taken his Gigi long to whip up a very convincing fake. He'd even placed a few jutsu in it for Naruto to have a look at while he waited for the newest nuke nin of Konoha to arrive. His Gigi's plan was simply to allow Naruto to trick the man into showing his hand while he, and a few other ninja, watched via his crystal ball. That had been interesting to find out about. He'd always thought the thing was little more than a pretty paperweight. Instead, it was a fuinjutsu device linked to the village's defensive barriers that allowed it to be used as a focus for the Tomegan no Jutsu telescope technique anywhere within Konoha. The quest that his gamer power had generated had been an even more interesting motivator. Quest alert. The hatred of a traitor, Toji Mizuki, your second teacher at the academy, has tried to trick you into betraying Konoha by stealing the forbidden scroll of seals. You took it to the Hokage, who has arranged a plan to expose his treason. And you play a starring role in it, by the way. Quest objective. Deceive Toji Mizuki and make him confess his plans for the watching ninja, then survive for 2 minutes against him in combat until the Anbu arrive to take him into custody. Bonus objective 1. Before Toji Mizuki arrives at the clearing, learn at least one jutsu from the fake scroll of seals in your possession. Bonus objective 2. Learn all of the jutsu in the fake scroll of seals before Toji Mizuki arrives in the clearing. Bonus objective 3. Defeat Toji Mizuki before the Anbu arrive in the clearing. Secret objective. Main quest reward. Plus 1000 reputation with Konohagakure no Sato Shinobi Forces plus 5000 reputation with. And promotion to Genin, plus 20000 Ryo, random A-rank jutsu scroll. Bonus reward 1. Plus 500 reputation with plus 500 reputation with. And plus 1000 Ryo, 3 random fuinjutsu scrolls. Bonus reward 2. Plus 1000 reputation with plus 1000 reputation with. And plus 1000 Ryo, 6 random fuinjutsu scrolls. Bonus reward 3. Minus 500 reputation with Namadate Tsubaki, plus 500 reputation with Konohagakure Shinobi Forces, plus 500 reputation with Konohagakure Anbu, bounty for capturing C-rank nuke nin, random reward, Toji Mizuki's shinobi equipment. Secret objective reward. The quest had auto-accepted, which was irksome, not to mention new. Still, he would have accepted it anyway. The chance to grind one Toji Mizuki's face into the ground for all the crap he'd put him through was too good to pass up. The rewards were just the icing on the cake. Heaving the scroll onto the ground, he unfurled it and quickly skimmed through it to see just what he had to work with. The Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, the Soshuriken no Jutsu, Manipulated Shuriken Jutsu, the Ninpo, Shuriken Ranbu Ninja Art, Shuriken Wild Dance Ninpo, Shuriken Goshin Ninja Art, Shuriken Giant Body, and Ninpo, Kage Shuriken Ninja Art, Shadow Shuriken. Naruto read out loud with a frown. Aside from the Shuriken version of his Shadow Clone Jutsu and the Shuriken Giant Body technique, which were an A and a low C ranked respectively, they were all D ranked jutsu. Then again, he didn't have that many non-elemental ninjutsu, so this was a good thing. Plus he'd possibly be able to show them to Tenten when he had the time. Naruto spotted a note on the bottom of the scroll. Naruto-kun, forgive me, but I must admit to being curious as to exactly how your gamer power will affect your ability to learn new technique without accessing the scroll devouring aspect of it, so I have not supplied individual scrolls for these jutsu. I will be expecting a verbal report on the matter after your mission is complete. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Huh, makes sense. I've told Gigi that I can learn jutsu using my gamer abilities power to devour scrolls and textbooks and via the normal way, but I don't think I've ever shown him the second one. He thought with a nod. Looking at the jutsu, he decided that the easiest jutsu to try and learn would be the Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, as he already knew a different version of it. Implest of the remaining 4 jutsu, the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. Unlike the other jutsu on the scroll, this technique required no chakra or hand seals to perform, simply requiring excellent timing and a bit of sleight of hand, and Naruto had always been rather good with his hands. Congratulations! You have learned the Cage Shuriken no Jutsu. Cage Shuriken no Jutsu, Instant, LV1, 000. The Shadow Shuriken Jutsu is a simple sleight of hand trick used to conceal one thrown shuriken in the shadow of another. More complicated than it appears at first, the user has to throw both in one motion and synchronize the rotation of both in order to keep the lower one concealed perfectly in the shadow of the higher one. While useful, it is easily seen through if the target ducks down to avoid the visible shuriken. Costs 0 CP to use. No hand signs necessary. Requires 2 identical shuriken in order to be used. When used, the second shuriken counts as being in stealth, and any bonus skills you have that affect damage from stealth apply. Reduces the chance of the second shuriken being seen by the target from their perspective by 30%. A pretty useful jutsu, to boot. A chakraless, hand signless jutsu is a pretty useful tool to have up your sleeve. Lots of people underestimated the simple jutsu out there. Next on the agenda was the Soshuriken no Jutsu. Being able to control shuriken from a distance was a pretty cool trick, and fortunately, his Jiji had provided lengths of almost transparent ninja wire to use for it. It took another quarter of an hour, because it took 5 minutes to realize that he needed an actual target to use the jutsu against, and another few attempting to make a target kun before he realized he could just use an Iwa Bunshin. He then spent another minute cursing himself out before actually learning the jutsu. Congratulations! You have learned the Soshuriken no Jutsu. Soshuriken no Jutsu, active, LV1, 000. The manipulated shuriken jutsu is an application of wirework, used by ninja when the use of chakra is either impossible or inadvisable for one reason or another. Attaching threads to one or more shuriken and throwing them, the user can direct the shuriken in mid-flight, with an expert only needing a twitch of a finger to change their course and attack the enemy. With a sufficiently imaginative mind, the tactics one can use are virtually endless. No hand signs necessary. Costs 0 CP to use. Requires at least one shuriken to have one length of ninja wire attached to it. Once in action, the user can manipulate the shuriken in any direction once in flight, within reason, but, initially at least, large and obvious hand motions are necessary to control them. With practice, that cannon will be reduced to slight finger twitches. If used to attack the enemy from an unexpected direction, the damage of the shuriken is increased by 10 and the chance for a critical hit is increased by 10%. Naruto was starting to see the trend. Even if he had bucketloads of chakra to throw around, his lesser chakra control skill was not helping much in stopping him from wasting chakra with every jutsu he used. Eventually, he'd run out. Having jutsu that didn't require chakra to use as a backup for when, if it happened, would be useful. The next one he tackled was the Shuriken Ranbu Jutsu, which basically sounded like a powerful version of his cluster throw skill. And sure enough, when he acquired the skill. Congratulations! You have learned Ninpo, Shuriken Ranbu. Similar skill found. Cluster throw LV10 has been absorbed into Ninpo, Shuriken Ranbu. Ninpo, Shuriken Ranbu is now level 6. Ninpo, Shuriken Ranbu Instant LV6, 48.97. Ninja Art, Shuriken Wild Dance combines slight chakra enhancement of the arms with a double handful of shuriken, resulting in a powerful technique. This technique can be combined with numerous draw techniques, infusion techniques and other aspects of the ninja arts to further increase the potential of this already useful technique. Please note that in order for this technique to be used to its best, a holster on both legs is required. 15% chance to fumble the shuriken. No hand signs necessary to use. Adds plus 15 to the damage of each shuriken. Costs 10 CP per shuriken. Huh, wonder why that happened. Naruto blinked before shrugging. Cluster throw had only been a skill, not a jutsu skill like Shuriken Ranbu was. Maybe jutsu skills were superior to ordinary skills and subsumed skills that matched them exactly or a part of them, even. It was worth thinking about. The last jutsu was Ninpo, Shuriken Goshin. That was an odd one, enlarging a shuriken to twice the size of a Fuma shuriken, or enlarging a Fuma shuriken to twice the size of a four-person dining table. Big, obvious and as subtle as how he had been months ago, stealth abilities aside. How it could be useful, he didn't know. Congratulations. You have learned Ninpo, Shuriken Goshin. Ninpo, Shuriken Goshin Instant LV1, 0-100. Ninja Art. Shuriken Giant Body was created by Sarutobi Hiruzen during his time as a member of Team Tobirama. While it may initially seem to be unsubtle, it can be more nuanced than it first appears. By expanding the target shuriken at just the right moment, the enemy who thought they had avoided a shuriken by the barest of margins ends up with a surprise injury, something that can influence the course of battle. Hand sign. Tiger. Costs 45 CP to use. Requires either a single standard shuriken or a single Fuma shuriken in order to be used. Upon execution of the jutsu, the target shuriken expands to a size determined by what it is. A regular shuriken will grow to twice the size of a Fuma shuriken, while a Fuma shuriken will grow to twice the size of a four-person dining table. The damage of the shuriken is then changed to reflect its new size. A shuriken's new damage will be that of a standard Fuma shuriken plus 20, while a Fuma shuriken's damage will be tripled. Naruto blinked. That was a pretty good jutsu. It was only useful so long as the enemy didn't expect it, or otherwise as a distraction, but inside those limits, it was very useful. He made a note to not underestimate jutsu again based on their initial description. Well, now I don't have any more jutsu to learn, I'll practice. He decided. Half an hour later. Office of the Hokage, Kanahagakure. Troublesome, Shikaku grumbled. So why are we here, Hokage-sama? I'm certain he was about to tell you when you interrupted him, Shikaku-san. Hyuga Hiyashi said calmly. Agreed. Aburame Shibi stated. I was waiting for the right moment, Shikaku-san. Sarutobi said gravely. As you know, Uzumaki Naruto has made off with the Forbidden Scroll of Seals, or, so people have been led to believe. As evidence, he pulled the scroll up from where it had been resting since Naruto had left his office. Ah, can I then ask why you have half of the shinobi forces scrambling to find Uzumaki-san if he is not, in fact, a thief? The head of the Hyuga asked delicately. Because someone is playing us for fools, gentlemen. The Hokage scowled. Somehow, one Toji Mizuki managed to get a message inside of Naruto-kun's apartment, which is under strict Anbu observation and protection, without the watchers noticing. The contents of the message were designed to try to trick Naruto-kun into stealing the scroll under the guise of a secret test for the top 10 graduates. He didn't fall for it. The perennially lazy Nara clan head stated. And he brought it to you. You're planning on entrapping Mizuki using the kid as bait and us as witnesses using the Tomegan no Jutsu. Sneaky and cold there, Hokage-sama. Looking very much unaffected by the accusations leveled at him by his Jonin commander, the Sandaime tapped a finger on the desk for a moment. Mizuki-kun has been under investigation for a number of months now. He has, at the very least, taught flawed taijutsu techniques to Naruto-kun, delivered doctored jutsu scrolls to Naruto-kun, attempted to casually injure Naruto-kun and supported and perhaps even helped facilitate the current nonsense at the academy. This is the last nail in his coffin. With this as evidence, he moves up from improper conduct and petty maleficence to outright treason. Naruto-kun, as the one to whom the majority of the ills have fallen upon, was eager to aid in Mizuki-kun's downfall. I can imagine. Hiyashi raised an eyebrow. Though I am curious as to why this elaborate bit of subterfuge is needed. Surely there is already enough evidence to bring Toji-san up on charges. There is. Agreed Hiruzen. However, there is currently some evidence that Toji-san has been acting with the aid of outside factors. With that being the case, more drastic measures are needed. Ah. Shibi made a slight sound of realization, before nodding his head in understanding. You wish to have Toji-san's guilt be completely irrefutable so that he may be placed under Ibiki-san's, tender mercies I believe is the term. An irritating, but necessary, piece of law was that without overt and absolute proof of treason, or at least significant and convincing evidence of treason, a member of the Kanahagakure shinobi forces could not be fully interrogated as if they were an enemy shinobi. This meant no physical torture the way Mitarashi Anko liked to use, no sleep and food deprivation and so on. Psychological torture had also been limited ever since Ibiki had become the head of the T&I department. Before that, it hadn't been seen as a threat. More fool the idiots inside the village who had fallen afoul of Ibiki when he had become the head of T&I and began more and varied uses of particularly heavy levels of psychological torture as long as he could get away with it. Several people had been so traumatized by the man's tactics that they had to have regular counseling sessions. Those that were allowed to live after the information was extracted anyway. Psychological torture may not leave visible scars, but the wounds it left were far more grisly and harder to heal for that. Just so, Shibi-san. Sarutobi nodded grimly. The ones responsible for undermining the academy directly are already under Ibiki and Anko's tender mercies, but so far most have proven to be simple cat's paws. Toji Mizuki has, at first glance, been only peripherally involved in the matter, another pawn in play, but several factors do not add up. He has been peripherally involved in all aspects of the Academy's sabotage, even if in most minor of ways, while most of the others did not know of each other's involvement. That in and of itself raises suspicion. More so, since the investigation has begun, his behavior has become more erratic and his targeting of Naruto-kun more apparent. This speaks of far more than a simple grudge against the boy due to the Kyuubi. No, I believe that Mizuki-kun will have to be investigated in depth to discover exactly what he has been up to and on whose behalf. A wise decision. Shibi agreed. Why use Naruto-san though? An Anbu underneath a henge would be more than enough to fool a low-level chunin like Mizuki-san. According to reports given by Yumino Iruka-kun, a close friend of Mizuki-kun and the one who first brought his suspicious actions to my attention, he knows a wide variety of differing ninjutsu. The Sandame stated. This includes the Kugutsu no Jutsu puppetry jutsu we acquired from our treaties with Sunagakur, various Doden ninjutsu, Kenjutsu, advanced shurikenjutsu, the Muon Satsujin silent killing technique from Kurigakure, as well as Genjutsu, Kasumi illusion, haze, and a variety of other techniques which he has not been seen using on any mission in recent years. All this speaks of a man who has grown well beyond his former skills, but is attempting to keep his growth unnoticed. Hiyashi pointed out with a frown. Wasn't he initially denied the post of an academy sensei because he was suspected of killing a comrade during a mission? Shikaku frowned. The man in question received a bad injury, one that claimed his life, according to Mizuki-kun's report at the time. Sarutobi recalled with a frown. Now I am left wondering if he did in fact kill him in case the injury became a hindrance to the mission's success. If that was the case, he would have been denied a post as an academy sensei and been busted down to genin again. Just then, the door opened, revealing Sarutobi Asuma and Hitaki Kakashi. Ah, Asuma-kun, Kakashi-kun. The Hokage nodded at them as the pair closed the door and walked over to stand next to the other three. How goes the search? As you'd expect, a lot of the ones who think Naruto's the Kyuubi reborn or something similar are up in arms, while everyone else is wondering who tricked him. The silver-haired Kakashi drawled. His lazy act was spoiled by the sharp look in his one visible eye. So how's Naruto doing himself? Asuma asked. He and Kakashi had been read into the plan from the outset, not that either was happy about it. In answer, Sarutobi brought out his crystal ball and activated the Tomegan no Jutsu, revealing a clearing in a forest, with a ramshackle shack to one side. To the other was the subject of the search by half of the shinobi forces currently stationed in Konoha. Uzumaki Naruto was working hard at practicing what all of the shinobi recognized as the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. It was at a modestly good level as well. So he's on the run from the entire shinobi force, and he's practicing a D-rank jutsu. Shikaku deadpanned. Not sure if I'm insulted or amused by this. It's something I gave him to pass the time. Sarutobi said with a nod. Mizuki-kun isn't due to rendezvous with him for another 5 minutes or so. So he's had around about 2 hours to learn and practice the 5 jutsu that I gave him in the fake scroll of seals. And, judging from how smoothly he's using the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu, he's doing fairly well. Well, it is a chakraless D-rank jutsu. Hiyashi pointed out passively. One he hasn't seen before today, if I'm guessing right. Asuma pointed out mildly. After only 2 hours of practice, to have a good understanding of the jutsu is something beyond most ninja. I know that jutsu and it took me at least a week to get to the point the kid seems to be at right now. Troublesome. Shikaku grumbled as he mentally admitted that the former Guardian Ninja 12 member was perfectly correct. No matter if the jutsu was simple or not, or even used chakra or not, getting a firm grasp of how a jutsu worked, as well as any motions, movements and nuances in its usage, was not a quick process. This went especially for any jutsu that used weapons as a medium or a conduit. As a jutsu, most would consider the Cage Shuriken no Jutsu to be barely worthy of the distinction, as it was, at its base, simple sleight of hand and misdirection. That's what a civilian would see, at any rate. It was low-level, used no chakra and was seen through fairly easily. But it was that simplicity, lack of chakra and sleight of hand that made it a very useful technique to have at hand. When most went for flashy balls of fire and blasts of electricity, something as simple and as subtle as a second shuriken hidden beneath the first was the last thing most people expected. Many who relied on an ability to perceive or sense chakra to sense incoming attacks would be caught completely off guard simply because it required no chakra to use. For a shinobi, particularly one known to be as brash and flashy as Naruto Uzumaki was, it was the last thing most would expect to see him use. Which was probably why the Hokage had chosen it for the boy. Ah, and it's about to begin. Sarutobi said with a steely-eyed expression as Toji Mizuki appeared at the edge of the clearing. Let us see exactly what Mizuki-kun has to say for himself, then. Executing more hand signs, he enabled the fuinjutsu arrays that permitted the crystal ball to allow sound to pass through the technique as well as sight. It made maintaining the Tomegan no Jutsu a bit more chakra-intensive, but even as old as he was, Sarutobi could maintain it for several hours. The 5 men before him gazed into the orb as the traitor approached Naruto. With Naruto. Congratulations. The skill Cage Shuriken no Jutsu has leveled up. LV1 LV2. Nodding to himself in satisfaction, Naruto walked forward and grabbed the shuriken and gave them a quick once-over to check for damage. While their durability had dropped a couple of points, they were still good to use. Satisfied, he slipped them back into place in his holster. He'd leveled his 5 new jutsu by 1 apiece, which was pretty good going. He was going to have to get some Fuma Shuriken at some point, to make full use of both the Cage Shuriken no Jutsu, and Ninpo, Shuriken Goshin. Bloodlust detected. Several meters behind you. Naruto stiffened slightly as he heard the soft footfalls of someone else in the clearing and, judging by the all-too-familiar feeling of ki emanating from the person in question, it was Mizuki. Smiling quickly before putting on his best, happy-go-nuts mask, Naruto turned around and beamed at the silver-haired Chunin. Toji Mizuki LV-28. Traitor, Nuke Nin of Konohagakure. Hey Mizuki-sensei. He greeted the traitor. You got here pretty quick, I only had time to get 1 jutsu down. I doubt that the Cage Shuriken no Jutsu was in the scroll. The man offered back dryly. He was dressed in his usual Chunin outfit, with the addition of a pair of large shurikens slung over his back. No, that's something I picked up a while back. Naruto waved the idea away easily and threw 4 shuriken at the Iwa Bunshin that had hinged into a target kun. Watch this Datbeo. Shuriken Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. To Mizuki's disbelief, he watched as the 4 shuriken multiplied into 48, slamming into the target kun across multiple vital areas. There wasn't a ninja worth their salt who hadn't heard of the shuriken version of the Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. Created by the Sandaime Hokage, it was a rank above the parent jutsu and was an exceptionally deadly jutsu when used correctly. There should be no way for a normal boy to learn an A-rank jutsu in just 2 hours. The Chunin thought in shock. The demon must be exerting more of its powers. In his mind, he shuddered as he remembered staring up at the enormous mountain-sized 9-tailed fox as it laid waste to Konoha. Even if he hated Konoha, even if he despised it for keeping him from his rightful position, he would not let the demon grow in strength any more than it already had and possibly destroy Konoha all over again. He may have come to hate the village for its crimes against him, but the horror of the Kyuubi unleashed was not something he would wish upon his worst enemy. Mizuki-sensei. Naruto said with a cocked head. You okay? You were pulling a funny face there. Oh, yes, just a bit of trapped wind. He lied. What are those things on your back? The blonde asked curiously after pausing for a moment. Oh, these are Dai Shuriken. Mizuki patted the closest point poking over his shoulder. Essentially just large versions of a standard shuriken. They're not as impressive looking as a Fuma shuriken, but they're far more durable. I've had these two beauties for over 5 years and they've never let me down once. That's pretty cool. They expensive. Naruto eyed them thoughtfully. They can be 10,000 ryo each for an ordinary pair and about 50,000 for a good set like mine. Mizuki explained. For 70,000, you can get some with fuinjutsu enhancements on them, although I prefer them without the extra bells and whistles. An idea occurred to Mizuki, making him suppress an evil grin. The demon had brought the scroll like the idiot that it was, and the massive purple scroll was currently leaning against a tree several feet away from the beast, all wrapped up. With a bit of trickery, he could end the demon with one strike. The big advantage to getting a superior Dai Shuriken over a regular one, Naruto-kun, he said as he unlimbered one of his Dai Shuriken, is that about 10 years ago, they discovered a method of permanently infusing an elemental affinity into chakra metal, albeit at a weak level. With water chakra metal covering the inside of the hole in the center of the Dai Shuriken, with a bit of chakra manipulation, you can do this. Doing so as he gripped the rim of the Dai Shuriken, the large thrown weapon started to spin rapidly until it was a blur, gathering dust to it as it spun. Whoa! That's awesome! Naruto exclaimed. Yes. Not only can you use it for close combat attacks, you can use it to add more power to your throw. Mizuki shouted as he flung the Dai Shuriken right at Naruto, who was only standing a couple of meters away. Once I tell them that I killed the demon because he tried to steal the scroll of seals, I'll be a hero. Mizuki exulted to himself. And I'll get the scroll to myself. Then an explosion of smoke surrounded Naruto just before the Dai Shuriken hit him. When the smoke cleared, the boy had been replaced by the target kun, which had reverted its form as an Iwa Bunshin and had been cut in half. What the? Mizuki exclaimed in shock. Missed me, Mizuki-sensei. Naruto said from half the clearing away, smirking at the silver-haired Chunin. Your aim needs some work, sensei. You couldn't hit me with a flower pot, never mind a big-ass shuriken. You. The traitor growled angrily. You foul little demon. You've known about my plan from the start, haven't you? Considering you snuck a message into a building watched by a squad of Anbu, yeah, I have. Naruto admitted with an easy shrug. Only reason to go through all that trouble for something like this is if you were trying to pull a fast one on me. TCH. So what if you figured that out? Mizuki sneered. Once I kill you, I'll take the scroll and use it to gain power. So that's all this was. An excuse to kill me legitimately and take the forbidden scroll of seals. The blonde boy asked with a raised eyebrow. Yes. Mizuki snarled. Let me tell you something good, Naruto. The reason everyone around you looks down on you. The reason that everyone hates you. It's because you are the Kyuubi. 12 years ago, the Yondaime died in order to kill you and you were reincarnated as baby. You are a mistake that I'm going to remedy right here, right now. You really are a moron, you know that. Naruto snorted in contempt, looking utterly unaffected by Mizuki's words. Well, that certainly wasn't the reaction the traitorous Chunin had expected. Mizuki's jaw dropped and he managed to get a, huh, out. I am not the Kyuubi reborn, you half-baked excuse of a ninja. The boy stated firmly. I am Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konohagakure no Sato and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. In other words, the Yondaime sacrificed himself to seal it within me. If I die, then the Kyuubi will be released, you idiot. Mizuki paled for a moment before shaking it off. No, he couldn't let its words get to him. You couldn't trust the words of a kitsune. He wouldn't be deceived. So what? I'll be long gone by the time the beast gets its bearings, assuming you're even speaking the truth, brat. He sneered as he grabbed his other Dai Shuriken and started it spinning. I'll be the one to have the power of the scroll and you'll be dead. With another heave, he sent the spinning weapon hurtling at Naruto, who quickly ran through the 6-hand signs for his best defensive jutsu. Futon. Fujinheki. He shouted and a wall of wind roared into existence in front of him. The Dai Shuriken slammed into it and struggled for a moment before being sent flying off to slam into a tree. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. All that work to get it to LV5 had been worth it, as that attack had dealt out 200 points of damage at least. The natural advantage that Futon Jutsu had against thrown weapons had reduced that damage down to 150, and his Fujinheki had 160 durability points. Just barely safe. Naruto wasn't sitting on his ass though. He wanted to defeat Mizuki and he could see the clock counting down from 2 minutes already, so he ran through the 6 hand signs of his next jutsu. Kaden, Hotarubi. He called out and breathed out a swarm of small fireballs. They passed straight through the Fujinheki, growing in size as their power was boosted by the Futon Jutsu, and flew out to attack Naruto's target, Mizuki. Doden. Doryuheki. Earth Style Wall. Mizuki yelped as he made the tiger hand sign and slammed his hands on the ground, making a very crude wall emerge from the ground. The crude design and shaky construction a result of only using a single hand sign to activate the jutsu, it could be presumed. The small fireballs, each the size of a large grapefruit thanks to the Fujinheki they had passed through, and numbering at least 150, started striking the badly made Doryuheki, each gouging out a part of the loosely packed earth that made it up. Doten. Dochu Igyo, Earth Style. Underground projection fish, Mizuki whispered as he sunk into the ground, abandoning his position to attempt to sneak up on the demon. He'd used Doten, Shinju Zanshu, Earth Style, double suicide decapitation, to drag the brat into the ground up to his neck and then cut his head off. Naruto frowned as no counterattacks were forthcoming from Mizuki, which wasn't like him. The man should be counterattacking at this point. Then a nugget of information that his Jiji told him made him make the snake and dog hand signs. Doten. Mogura Kanshi. Earth Style. Sensing like a mole. He whispered. It had only been 2 weeks ago that he had, once more, defeated Mogura Wagara, the massive mole, and earned this jutsu. It was, put simply, Mogura Wagara's ability to sense movement on and in the earth, very useful to use against people who snuck up on others underground, such as one Toji Mizuki was doing. Let's see you dodge this underground. Doten. Dongan. Naruto shouted and stamped his foot. Underground, beneath an oblivious Mizuki, a menhir formed and shot up through the earth straight at the man. At the last minute, Mizuki noticed it and tried to dodge, but it was too little too late. The massive stone slammed straight into his solar plexus and started pushing him up as well. Seconds later, both menhir and man emerged from the earth, flying up into the air before separating and crashing to the ground in separate places. Toji Mizuki has had the stun status effect afflicted upon him for 30 seconds. Okay then, eat this. Naruto grinned and clenched one fist, a dragon's head forming around it. It had taken until level 15 before the jutsu he was about to use had dropped to a sufficiently low time to charge, but it was gonna be so worth it. Futon. Ryaha. Punching forwards as he shouted, Naruto unleashed the jutsu, a massively long serpentine dragon made of wind launching itself from his clenched fist. Coiling and soaring through the air, it made a beeline towards Mizuki, who had just recovered from having the wind driven out of him by a lump of stone heavier than he was. Oh crap. He paled and sunk into the ground, but his arm got clipped by the dragon, shredding his dark blue shirt sleeve and creating dozens of small cuts across his skin. Underground, the new nuke Nin cursed and started wrapping a bandage around the wounds on his arm that he had taken from his pouch. Damn it, how the hell is the demon this strong? He thought furiously and with not a touch of fear. It's obviously been concealing what it knows. I have to end it, quickly. Naruto was also concerned. He only had about another 30 seconds to beat Mizuki before the Anbu turned up. Fortunately, the Chunin emerged near one of his Dai Shuriken. Reclaiming his weapon in an instant, the traitorous Chunin started running towards him with it spinning furiously. Die, Kyubi. He bellowed, drawing his weapon back. Naruto smirked and drew his tanto. Mizuki hadn't taken any notice of them, or if he had, he dismissed their threat as minimal. His big mistake. Futon Chakra Nagashi. He muttered, sending Futon Chakra into Tsubaki and Sumair. Naruto then executed the Hasamigiri against the incoming Dai Shuriken, cutting it in half, just barely missing the skin of Mizuki's knuckles. Mizuki leapt back, panic on his face as Naruto continued the attack. Doden Chakra Nagashi. Naruto growled before speeding up and slamming his now very dense tanto into his former sensei's body, breaking several bones. Gah! The Chunin roared in pain. I'm going to kill you and everyone you care for, demon. That made something snap inside of the blonde Uzumaki, unleashing a feral rage that flooded his mind and body. No you won't. Naruto roared back and, as if bidden by some unseen force, dropped his weapons to make the clone hand sign. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In an explosion of smoke, an entire army of Naruto clones stood surrounding Mizuki, who gaped at them in shock for just an instant before they dogpiled the traitor, fists and feet slamming into every part of his body. Naruto looked bewildered. That was way more clones than he had ever summoned before. After about 10 seconds, all of his clones dispelled themselves and Naruto was presented with the sight of one badly beaten, and unconscious, Toji Mizuki. And there were still 3 seconds on the clock. He waved away the notifications until he had some alone time later. Huh, yada. He cheered. Take that, bastard traitor. No sooner was the last syllable out of his mouth than the clearing was full of Anbu, 2 binding Mizuki's arms, 1 retrieving the fake scroll and 1, the purple-haired cat-masked Anbu he was familiar with, approached him. Genin Uzumaki, congratulations. She said with a nod at him. Not many fresh genin could take down a Chunin. You are unharmed. A bit drained chakra-wise, but I'm unhurt. Naruto said after checking himself over. The traitor's not though. I got him good in the chest with a dongan, his arms cut to hell from a Ryaha and I definitely broke some bones with the last clash we had before you all arrived, Neko-san. So noted, Genin Uzumaki. Neko nodded again. Hokage-sama gave orders to take you to see him after this incident was resolved, which it has now been. Suru-san and Tori-san will take the traitor to T&I for processing, while Ryu-san will accompany us to Hokage-sama. Sighed along Shunshin again. Naruto asked with a sigh. Sadly, yes, Uzumaki-san. Neko replied with an amused tone to her voice as she placed one hand on his shoulder. In 3, 2, 1, now. In a swirl of leaves, she, Naruto and the dragon-masked Anbu vanished from the clearing. With the Hokage. So then, opinions, gentlemen. Sarutobi asked as he deactivated the Tomegan no Jutsu and sat back on his chair. Genin Uzumaki is rather skilled with ninjutsu and the Hokage taijutsu style, although his kenjutsu with his tanto leaves something to be desired. Hiyashi offered simply. He has been unable to access the library to acquire a proper style due to his civilian status. Yumino Iruka has been kept busy with reorganizing the academy and Asuma has been busy getting back into the swing of missions. The Hokage said with a frown. Additionally, the staff members of the library were denying him entry even into the civilian section. I have since fired and replaced them with good, even-minded people, so that should not be an issue from here on out. The traitor severely underestimated the kid. Shikaku said bluntly. He was also slightly more skilled than we gave him credit for, but I do wonder about why he didn't try to use genjutsu on the kid. Says in his academy files that the Uzumaki has almost no ability to detect or dispel genjutsu. Mizuki was of the foolish opinion that Genin Uzumaki was the Kyuubi reborn, Shikaku-san. Shibi pointed out softly. Do recall that only one individual has ever been known to be able to use genjutsu on a biju. Mizuki may have been arrogant and foolish, but even he dared not compare himself to Uchiha Madara. Troublesome. Yeah, I can see that. The Jonin commander nodded. It was a pretty good combo that the kid came up with, using the Fujinheki to power up his Hotarubi. Asuma opined. He also seems to have some kind of sensory jutsu for detecting people underground. Pretty useful thing to have. That was Doden, Mogura Kanshi. Kakashi put in. It's not a rare jutsu, but it's more commonly practiced in Iwa than here. Where'd he find it? Training Ground 13. The Hokage said. It's apparently not been swept through for quite some time, so has accumulated scrolls regarding various techniques. Naruto-kun is in charge of clearing it out, an ongoing D-rank mission. Huh. The silver-haired Jonin nodded. His tactics need some work, but it looks like we've got a diamond in the rough here, Hokage-sama. The sheer number of clones he created at the end there. Agreed. Shibi nodded. He has also mastered the Kawarimi no Jutsu to the point of not needing hand signs or verbal intonation. Not something that you would expect from a genin, or even most fresh chunin. One does not usually reach such a level with it until they are approaching Tokubetsu or even full Jonin level. Thank you. As to Toji Mizuki, he is to be interrogated by Ibiki personally. Every scrap of information he has will be extracted and he will be sent to the Konoha Strict Correctional Facility once that is completed. The duration of his sentence will be determined depending on what information Ibiki extracts from him. Sarutobi states firmly, his eyes determined. Naoko-san and Naruto-kun ought to be here shortly, so you five are dismissed. Kindly write up everything you saw and heard on the crystal ball and hand it in before Monday. Asuma, come by tomorrow. I have something I need to inform you about, SS rank. His son's eyebrows shot up in shock, but he pulled himself together and nodded at his father. Hi, Hokage-sama. Not long after the five men left, Naoko led Ryu and Naruto in. Studying the boy in person made the Hokage feel a bit more at ease. No wounds and only a minor case of chakra depletion that was already rapidly recovering. Sarutobi often found himself somewhat envious of how rapidly the boy's chakra regenerated. It would serve him well as a shinobi. Naoko-san, Ryu-san, Naruto-kun. He greeted them all. Naoko-san, report. Hokage-sama. Naoko nodded. The traitor Toji Mizuki was defeated by Genin Uzumaki seconds before my squad arrived on the scene. Saru and Tori are securing him and taking him to the T&I department. Ryu has the Scroll of Seals and Genin Uzumaki is completely unharmed. Excellent work. Sarutobi nodded. Kindly go and call off the search for Naruto-kun and give the prepared story to them. Hi, Hokage-sama. Naoko nodded again. After Ryu handed over the fake scroll, the two Anbu vanished in puffs of smoke. So Naruto-kun, how was it, fighting Mizuki? The Hokage asked his surrogate grandson. After all the crap that guy's given me over the last year, it was very, what's the word? Naruto blinked as he tried to think of the right word. Starts with A, C, means satisfying. Cathartic. The Sandaime suggested with a knowing smirk. Yeah, that's it. The new genin nodded enthusiastically. Man, he was a tricky one, much harder than fighting the chakra mutations because he could actually use jutsu. If I hadn't gotten my hands on the Mogura Kanshi no Jutsu, he might have gotten me though. Yes. Doton is a very underappreciated element, but as Mizuki demonstrated, it can be used in a variety of ways. The Hokage nodded. Now, as you successfully captured Mizuki, you have earned his bounty, that would be a C-rank Nuke Nin's bounty, as well as all of his ninja tools and jutsu scrolls. I am afraid that his fiancé will be upset with you though. Tsubaki-san, right? Naruto asked with a sigh. Yeah, my power already told me I'd take a hit with her, reputation-wise. Can't be helped though. The guy was nuts, thinking I was the Kyuubi reborn and all that. Hatred can destroy people, as I told you a few months ago, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi sighed sadly. Mizuki-kun was, in all probability, once a loyal member of Konoha, but after witnessing the Kyuubi attack and a certain incident twisting his values, he became the man who attacked you today. A sad happenstance, for the Chunin forces are the mainstay of the military power of a hidden village. Losing one to his own hatred and greed is not something that is a cause for celebration, but it had to be done. Naruto nodded solemnly. He personally felt that getting shot of Mizuki was for the better, but his Gigi had to think about the military situation in Konoha as a whole, so the boy said nothing. Anyway, congratulations on graduating, Naruto-kun. The Hokage said warmly. Given your performance today, I believe you will do well in our forces. Have this as a graduation present from me. Reaching under the desk, Sarutobi pulled out a green haori with the kanji for wind emblazoned on the back. That's part of the Greater Fujin set. Naruto exclaimed in shock. Yes. I had a look through the Sarutobi clan's storehouse and found that one of our members 10 years ago was a futon primary and Doton secondary much as you are. He wore this until he became a Chunin and gained access to better equipment. The Sandaime said. I reimbursed the clan for its value and had it checked over and repaired to its original glory before giving it to you. I think it'll suit you quite well. Thanks, Gigi. The orphan exclaimed and used, observe, on it. Greater Fujin Haori. Emblazoned with the kanji for wind in the center of its back, This Haori is perfect for one who aspires to use futon ninjutsu, as it is said that the one who wears it will find their futon ninjutsu to be greatly empowered. Part of the Greater Fujin set. Level 17. Requires Level 5 Futon Affinity. Def plus 50. Effect 1. Futon Assault Empowerment. Increase the damage dealt by all offensive futon ninjutsu by 5%. Effect 2. Futon Defensive Empowerment. Increase the durability of all futon defensive ninjutsu and constructs by 5%. Effect 3. Futon Blade Enhancement. Increase the attack power and durability of all futon ninjutsu that involve blades by a further 5% in addition to any other power-ups. Naruto grinned. He was just a short time away from gaining the 5th level of his natural primary futon affinity, so this was perfect. Also, take this. Sarutobi gave Naruto a square token with a C carved onto it. This bounty authorization token allows you to claim a bounty from the main desk. Neko-san should have posted Mizuki's bounty down there as she passed, so you can claim the reward. If you have any problems, tell me and I'll have Neko-san politely explain the situation. The grimly amused expression on the Hokage's face told Naruto that Neko-san would be using her sword to do her talking if anyone was stupid enough to ignore an official token from the Hokage's own hand. Got it, Gigi. Naruto nodded. Before you go, I have something to tell you, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said seriously. As you know, you'll be put onto a team on Monday. Unfortunately, the last 5 years of your lessons at the academy have been sabotaged. Not just you, but your entire class. Uruka-kun is going through the old syllabus and comparing it with the one you were taught under to see exactly what parts have been altered and curtailed. Why would they weaken our training? The Uzumaki boy didn't know whether to be angry or baffled. Civilians. The Sandaime shook his head in irritation. A lot of them are indignant about the status that shinobi get in Konoha, so they wanted to have more of their children in positions of prestige and power to possibly enact changes at a later date. They didn't like their children's chances with the old curriculum, so they bribed key personnel at the academy, including the headmaster, to weaken it, letting more civilians graduate. It didn't stop the Jonin from weeding out the unworthy with their tests, but to be fair to the better among the civilian-born, 9/10 of them passed the test the following year. Indignant about ninja having power and influence in an actual ninja village. Naruto stated slowly, as if to enunciate the words aloud would have them make more sense to him. They didn't. You should have the medics crack them open for research on how stupid people can get without having a brain, Gigi. Sarutobi stifled a chuckle. As fun as that sounds, Naruto-kun, that's only permitted in times of war and only on spies, traitors and particularly infamous enemy shinobi. Anyway, the point is that even as officially graduated genin, your class will have many holes in your education. You, just for an example, are the only one who has been blooded against chakra mutations, whereas the class should have been taken to a chakra-saturated training ground to get their first kills 3 months ago. You also lack sufficient training in regards to resisting and breaking genjutsu. Had Mizuki thought with his head rather than with his prejudices, he may have gained the upper hand against you. Naruto winced. Yeah, my chakra control just isn't good enough. It's called lesser chakra control for a start and it's barely at level 20. Using any kind of weak genjutsu needs me to get an increasingly high amount of chakra control. The more chakra I get, the higher the requirement is. I might as well try juggling horses with one hand tied behind my back for all the good my chakra control does me. What about detecting and dispelling genjutsu? The Hokage asked curiously. I have to max out lesser chakra control in order to be able to detect and dispel genjutsu. Naruto almost growled in frustration. I won't be using any kind of genjutsu in my life, barring some kind of super awesome power-up. So long as you can defend yourself against it, that is enough. Sarutobi nodded. Will it become a skill that you can level up, do you think? I think it will. Naruto said uncertainly. Most techniques that can be advanced like normal can be turned into skills, even something as mundane as dishwashing. There is still much that I fail to understand about your power Naruto-kun, and the part where you develop seemingly inane and useless skills like that is one of them. Sarutobi said with a shake of his head after a moment to mentally boggle at that example. Join the club. The boy grumbled. Still, it is encouraging that you will be able to advance your skills in countering genjutsu, even if casting them is beyond you. The Hokage nodded to himself. Anyway, in order to counter the holes in your educations, all teams will, after being formally accepted by their Jonin sensei, be regularly given inter-team training. A veteran team has volunteered to help train you all as well, the former Team 9, Team Guy, which has young Tenten on it. I get to train with Ten-chan on a regular basis. Thanks, Gigi. Naruto yelled excitedly. Noting the affectionate honorific directed at the tomboy weapons mistress for later blackmail and/or teasing, Sarutobi smiled at his surrogate grandson's excitement. It won't be with just Tenten-chan. He gently reminded Naruto. You'll have to spar against the others as well. I will. The Uzumaki boy nodded obediently. Very good. Please keep this to yourself until the time of the first inter-team training session. Sarutobi requested. Now, off home with you. You deserve a good night's sleep after bringing in a traitor on your very first day as a genin. He finished with a laugh. Gotcha, Gigi. You get some sleep too, you need it. Naruto shot back at him as he left, leaving Sarutobi to roll his eyes. He hadn't gone to bed before midnight since halfway through his first reign as Hokage. Hokage-sama. An Anbu appeared in a puff of smoke not 10 minutes later. Some members of the search party are asking to speak with you regarding Naruto-san. Kindly tell them that Naruto-kun said to say that they have been pranked. Sarutobi smirked. And that he was standing in roughly the same spot for almost 2 hours, so he was most disappointed that no one was able to find him. That is an evil thing to do to Naruto-san. The Anbu observed. He likely would have said something like that had he thought of it as a prank rather than a mission. The Hokage pointed out fairly. As it is, we need an excuse to tell everyone regarding the incident that does not involve Mizuki's treachery. There has already been too big of a shakeup at the academy without throwing further accusations of treachery and treason at them. A last, wide-scale prank by Naruto-kun would fit this situation, and it is a further explanation beyond what Naoko-san told them earlier. Naoko had told them that it was a classified incident, but Naruto had not been treacherous or treasonous. This would simply make them indignant against his pranks. And sure enough, a few minutes after the Anbu left. That blonde bastard. Music to my ears. The old man smirked as he started on the next mound of paperwork that this day had piled up on his desk. I wonder how it will be for Naruto-kun to be on the receiving end of a prank for a change. With Naruto. Living room, Naruto's apartment, Amekage Apartments. All of a sudden, Naruto was struck by a shiver going down his spine. He felt as if someone was plotting against him in a non-malicious fashion that was still going to be a pain to deal with. Shaking that feeling for the moment, Naruto turned his attention to the multifarious messages floating around him. With a small mental command, he organized them into order and then started reading them. It was one of the tricks he had learned that wasn't a skill. You have delivered a series of critical blows to Toji Mizuki. He has had the broken bones, ribs, hip debuff inflicted upon him. Congratulations. You have defeated Toji Mizuki. Experience cannot be gained as you have maxed out your class, level cap. As this is quite the hefty chunk of express, it will be deferred until after you class up. Quest complete. The hatred of a traitor. You successfully tricked Toji Mizuki into revealing his plans to the watching Hokage. Quest reward. Plus 1000 reputation with Konohagakure no Sato Shinobi Forces plus 500 reputation with. And promotion to Genin. Plus 2000 Ryo, Sweden. Daibakufu no Jutsu, Scroll. Bonus Objective 1. You successfully learned one jutsu from the fake scroll of seals before Toji Mizuki showed up. Bonus Objective 1 Reward. Plus 500 reputation with plus 500 reputation with. And plus 1000 Ryo, Fuinjutsu, Funyu no Jutsu, Scroll, Fuinjutsu, Shikoku Fuin, Scroll, Fuinjutsu, Ofuda Kekai. Bonus Objective 2. Much to unanimous amazement, you were able to learn all 5 of the jutsu in the fake scroll of seals without using the scroll absorption system. Kudos to you. Bonus Objective 2 Reward. Plus 1000 reputation with plus 1000 reputation with. And plus 1000 Ryo, Fuinjutsu, Kite, Scroll, Fuinjutsu, Sanpo Fuin, Scroll, Fuinjutsu, Zentai Kenza, Scroll, Fuinjutsu. Fukahoin, scroll. Fuinjutsu. Keiyaku Fuin, scroll. Fuinjutsu. Nunoshibari no Jutsu. Bonus Objective 3. You successfully went above and beyond what was expected of you by the Hokage and Anbu and successfully defeated the Nuke Nin Toji Mizuki in one-on-one combat, with seconds to spare on the clock. Bonus Objective 3 Reward. Minus 500 Reputation with Namadate Tsubaki, plus 500 Reputation with Konohagakure Shinobi Forces, plus 500 Reputation with Konohagakure Anbu, Bounty for capturing C-rank Nuke Nin 200,000 Ryo Greater Fujin Haori Toji Mizuki's Shinobi Equipment. Quest completed. Growing a cherry blossom. With hard work and grit, the formerly borderline wimpy Sakura is just barely hitting the average for fitness amongst active duty genin. Good work. Quest reward. Plus 750 XP deferred until after class up, plus 600 relationship with Haruno Sakura, Fuma Shuriken foldable type. Congratulations. You have successfully earned your position as a genin ranked shinobi of Konohagakure. The title genin has been added to your list of titles. The title Bounty Hunter has been added to your list of titles as a result of bringing in a Nuke Nin. You have now classed up. Level restriction has been upgraded to 40. You have acquired the accumulated experience from the defeat of Toji Mizuki and completing the hatred of a traitor, and growing a cherry blossom quests. You gained 17,750 express. Phew. That's a lot of stuff to go through. Naruto shook his head. All of it was good news though, getting on the good sides of the regular shinobi forces and Anbu couldn't be anything else. There was the downside that Mizuki's fiancé was going to be pissed at him, but there was nothing he could do about that. All of the Fuinjutsu scrolls would be useful, as his repertoire was very limited in that regard, although he wasn't sure if his Fuinjutsu and calligraphy levels were high enough to learn them. Getting all of Mizuki's equipment would be useful, for all that the man was a louse and a traitor, he had good taste in equipment. The Dai Shuriken was a good addition, as was the katana that he had possessed, but not used against Naruto for whatever reason. The miscellaneous kunai and shuriken would mean he wouldn't have to buy any for at least a month or two, and he now had a spare Hitai 8. The quest regarding Sakura-chan had been something of a relief. He had wondered why he hadn't gotten a notice about failure or success during the whole big lecture, but evidently his power considered that the moment he became a genin was the deadline. The rewards were rather nice, especially that Fuma Shuriken. Saved him a bit of Ryo in that regard. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Class: The Gamer. Level: 17, next level, 59.93%. Title: Genin plus 15% XP to LV25. Age: 12. HP: 2000. CP: 2200. STR: 43. Santa: 46 plus 10. Dex: 40. Int: 41 plus 5. Wis: 37. Luck. Looking at his newly updated status page, Naruto felt a swell of pride. Finally, after 3 failed attempts at graduating, he was a ninja at last. The screen in front of him wavered just then and Naruto blinked. That had never happened before. Before he could do anything else, the status screen snapped out of existence and another one popped up in its place. Congratulations. You have completed the prologue. What? As the prologue is now completed, the gamer will now expand to encompass the elemental nations, rather than just Konohagakure and its environs. What? Due to the technical, metaphysical and spiritual aspects involved, the gamer will be going into version up mode. The interface, stat calculation and jutsu damage calculation aspects, among others, will be updated and improved upon. Unfortunately, this means that you will be unable to access the majority of functions for the gamer during the update duration. What? The estimated time to complete this upgrade is 48.00 hours. Please accept the sincere apologies of the management if this inconveniences you in any way. You will be compensated with a free gift of your choice from a selection of 3 upon completion of this upgrade by way of a proper apology. Have a nice day. This bullshit again. Naruto exploded in a mixture of exasperation, anger and disbelief at being jerked around by his power for what had to be the umpteenth time. Swearing under his breath, Naruto took stock of what he could and couldn't do. He could use jutsu, skills and access the inventory. Everything else was utterly useless. Great. The newly promoted genin groaned. Well, no point crying over spilt milk. As he turned to head to the kitchen, he froze. Standing at the door to the living room was Iruka-sensei and he had a scary smile on his face. So Naruto, he said as he cracked his knuckles. What's this I hear about you playing a prank on the entire shinobi force? The blonde boy had one thought at this situation. This is gonna suck. The next day. Living room, Naruto's apartment. Yumino Iruka was feeling very much like a right heel at the moment. After he had kicked Naruto's ass for pranking the entire shinobi force, at the time, he'd also felt a small flicker of pride at the boy being able to cause mass chaos so easily without getting caught. That kind of ability would serve him well in the future. He had been summoned to the Hokage's office. There, he had been told the truth, how Mizuki, his friend, had tried to trick Naruto into committing treason. How the blonde boy had, in return, easily caught onto the deception given Mizuki's past animosity and had brought it to the Hokage. And how the crafty old bastard had arranged things so that Mizuki had been given just enough rope to hang himself before seeing him carted off to Anko and Ibiki. More than that, Naruto had fought and defeated Mizuki when the Chunin had tried to kill him. Pride, anger and shame had warred within Iruka. Pride at Naruto, for being cautious, for using his head rather than rushing in like he would have as little as a year ago, for reporting it to the Hokage, and for defeating someone who, by rank, was many times stronger than he was. Anger at the Hokage for using Naruto as bait for a trap, at Mizuki for turning traitor and trying to kill Naruto, and at himself for not acting sooner to stop Mizuki going down that path. As for the shame, some of it was for not stopping Mizuki from turning traitor and attacking Naruto, but mostly. He was deeply ashamed of kicking Naruto's ass the previous night without listening to anything the boy said in his defense. Which was why he was here to apologize. Naruto, unfortunately, was pouting at him with a slight twitch in one eye, a largish bump on top of his head from the technique Iruka had used on him the previous day, the one his fellow Chunin sensei jokingly called the I no Ikatsu, roar of love, a loud shout, swiftly followed by teleporting in close with a shunshin and a heavy whack across the head. In the end, he'd had to promise to treat the boy to a couple of large bowls of ramen at Ichiraku's before Naruto unbent enough to accept his apology. Anyway, Hokage-sama told me about everything that happened yesterday. Iruka told Naruto after he finished apologizing. And I am very impressed. You've really learned how to use your head rather than just relying on your fists. You not only quickly identified the suspicious actions of a supposed ally and brought them to your superior, but you even managed to successfully turn the trap back on Mizuki and learned a scroll's worth of jutsu to boot. All in all, a very impressive night's work, Naruto. Hahaha, nothing to it but to do it, Iruka-sensei datbeo. Naruto grinned. Do you mind looking over the jutsu that I managed to learn last night and give me some pointers on them? Of course. While technically we're still teacher and student until you're officially been assigned to a Jonin sensei, you're also technically a genin and not under the academy's authority any longer. So the law shouldn't be a problem. Iruka nodded. Chunin sensei weren't allowed to tutor their students outside of class in order to prevent favoritism, or at least heavily mitigate it, as teachers always tended to have favorites, regardless of policy. However, once a student received their Hitai-8 they fell into a bit of a legal gray area until the secondary genin exam administered by their assigned Jonin sensei. While he still couldn't privately teach Naruto any new techniques, offering critique and pointers on improving his already existent skills was well within the bounds. Yada. Naruto cheered. Smiling at his enthusiasm, Iruka followed the boy down to the apartment building's shuriken range and watched as Naruto demonstrated the jutsu he had learned the previous day, starting with the shuriken kage bunshin no jutsu. It took Iruka's mind a moment to reboot at the realization that his student had learned an A-rank jutsu that even he couldn't use and, unfortunately, couldn't help him with. Fortunately, the rest were jutsu that the scarred Chunin knew and could give some quite useful pointers on. Posture and throwing technique for the kage shuriken no jutsu, for example, as well as a bit of improvement with directing the wires with the soshuriken no jutsu. He'd had to rack his brains for the Shuriken Goshin and Shuriken Ranbu Jutsu since he'd learned those when he was just a fresh genin himself, and it had been several years since he'd had to actively use them. I have to say, I'm impressed, Naruto. The Chunin admitted a couple of hours later. Learning one, maybe two, of those jutsu in a single day is something that most experienced genin could accomplish, but all five over the course of a few hours. You've really been making amazing progress the last few months, but this is simply extraordinarily. Iruka was internally smirking as Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head awkwardly as he was wont to do when he was praised. The poor boy wasn't used to people honestly praising him. So Iruka-sensei, how are the teams gonna be chosen? Naruto asked, strategically redirecting the conversation. Ordinarily, the class's various teachers would assign the teams based on a combination of requests from the Jonin sensei and their own observations on compatible skillsets and personal synergy. The Chunin replied, allowing the very obvious deflection to pass, this once. The only obvious odd one out would be pairing the Rookie of the Year, the top kunoichi and the lowest ranking class member together. The theory behind that being that the more skilled pair of genin will help to bring up the abilities of the less capable student. Naruto nodded, having heard that before from the Hokage himself. But this year, thanks to some revelations, I understand that Hokage-sama is choosing the teams himself. Iruka continued more seriously. Standards have dropped at the academy, and I was so busy teaching that I didn't question the change in materials. You were just doing your job, Iruka-sensei. The boy protested. Hands down, you're the best sensei at the academy Datbayo. Thanks, Naruto. The Chunin chuckled, honestly touched at the boy's high opinion of him. But I should have taken my concerns to the Hokage when they first happened. As it is, as I was the one to bring my worries about the traitor Mizuki to Hokage-sama's attention, I'm not going to be punished. Instead, from here on out, the entirety of the academy staff will be made to take at least one mission outside of Konoha every 2 weeks in order to impress upon us the realities of shinobi life and why some things need to be taught in the academy. Cool. So we may be on the same mission someday. The blonde smiled at that. Possibly. Iruka allowed. But most genin do basic D ranks inside of Konoha in order to build up experience at working as a team for quite some time before even high D ranks, like that escort mission that Ayame-chan left on to get ingredients, are made available to them. Aren't D ranks basically chump change missions? Naruto asked, looking concerned. How'll I pay my utilities with those? All shinobi of Konoha get a basic salary, depending on their rank and if they live with a clan or not, in addition to their mission pay, Naruto. Iruka explained patiently. You'll have more than enough to pay for them. Plus, even if you only do one mission a day with your team, there's nothing stopping you from taking a solo mission so long as it's one that lone genin can take. That's a relief. Naruto sighed in relief. Wait, why would being in a clan affect your pay? If you're a part of an active shinobi clan, you generally have to offer up a portion of your pay as a tithe to help support the clan itself. In exchange, the clan generally provides a residence and general utilities and some other benefits for their shinobi. The Chunin told him. That ups the amount they receive slightly to accommodate for it. You, as another example, live alone, with no dependents or caregivers, so the amount you should receive is much higher. If you don't get any pay, let the Hokage know, okay? Gotcha, Iruka-sensei. Naruto agreed. By the way, can I get into the genin's area of the library yet? Afraid not just yet. You have to be assigned to your Jonin sensei and team before you're considered a fully qualified genin. Iruka shook his head. Or rather, not until you pass your Jonin sensei's test. He added silently. Ah man. How am I supposed to use my swords in any kind of real fight with only the self-taught crossing crud I've been able to learn on my own? The boy grumbled. You can fight well enough without them, Naruto. Iruka laughed and ruffled the boy's hair again, choosing to ignore the near miss, earning a whine and a pout from the blonde boy. Learning sword styles takes a lot more time than throwing shuriken or using a kunai. Even with your improvements, I doubt that a few extra days of training would change much in that area. Okay, I guess you're right, Iruka-sensei, Naruto sighed. He was willing to bet his gamer abilities would prove that theory wrong, if he could use the damn thing. After chatting for a few more minutes, Iruka left to report to the Hokage. He'd been temporarily transferred to the Hokage's office as his assistant for mission assignments, which was actually a step up from being a teacher in both prestige and pay, until the new school year started in a few months and he was assigned a new class of shinobi aspirants. Naruto, left alone at last, eyed the stupid timer that only he could see, which was counting down to his gamer power coming back online fully. It had barely been 16 hours and he was going nuts wondering exactly why the hell his power needed to version up, whatever the hell that was. Obviously it was some kind of update, but why couldn't it come out and say that? Stupid reality-breaking power. Shrugging, the boy decided to go show off his Hitai-8 to Ayame, who was probably back from her errand by now. As he walked through Konoha, he mentally rolled his eyes at the increased angry glares that the villagers were giving him with the addition of his ninja headgear. Seriously, didn't they have anything better to do than increase the level of his detect bloodlust skill? Granted, it would be damned useful on missions outside of Konoha, but having to constantly deal with that little mental nudge that someone, or rather a lot of someones, were glaring at him from multiple directions with the desire to kill was fairly distracting at first, disheartening after a while, and was currently more than a bit irritating. No sooner had he arrived at Ichiraku Ramen was he swept up in a glomp by Ayame, who was squealing about how proud she was of him for graduating at last. Naruto would have replied, but he was a bit busy suffocating from having his face plunged into his older sister figure's breasts. Ayame, you may want to let him go. Tsuki remarked in amusement. Otherwise we'll lose our best customer. Letting out a squeak of shock, the girl released a blue-faced Naruto, who started gulping in sweet, fresh air. Sorry, Naruto-kun. The brunette apologized, red-faced in embarrassment and mortification. It's okay, Ayame ne. Naruto replied after a moment. Just try not to suffocate me again, ne. Sure thing. Now let me see this. Ayame peered at the Hitai-8. Looks like Iruka-san did a good job of looking after it. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. Hahaha, Naruto preened at the praise. No going back to the academy for me. Have an Uzumaki special on the house, Naruto. Tsuki said, placing a bowl on the counter. An Uzumaki special was, to put it simply, a large bowl with almost every ingredient you could put in ramen included, with an extra thick and nutritious soup. Not being one to pass up free food, especially Ichiraku ramen, Naruto sat down and tucked in with relish. As he ate, he felt completely at peace. Life was good. The next day, evening. Training room, Amekage Apartments. Ding. Naruto, in the middle of practicing his throwing technique with a handful of kunai, winced at the sound of a bell going off right in his ear. The sudden noise also resulted in him fumbling the kunai he'd been readying, nearly impaling his foot. Yipe. What the? He looked around. Then he spotted the screen that had appeared. Finally. Welcome. Chosen gamer of your world, welcome to the gamer interface, version 2.0. As opposed to the version 1 and version 1.5 that you have worked with before now, this version of the GI has been optimized for your world and its peculiarities, powers and peoples. The following changes have been made to your interface. Experience gain for skill levels will now be rendered as a flat percentage to allow a greater ability to tell how far you are to progressing to the next level at a glance. Daily quests have been removed as a result of your advancement to the Genin class and title. They have been replaced by the repeatable quest D-rank drudgery. Achievements are now available. These are similar to titles in that your actions can unlock them, but they do not grant you any special abilities by possessing them, unless a title of the same name is unlocked at the same time, although you do get rewards of express, ryo and occasionally jutsu, perks, flaws, special status, attribute points and ninja tools for them being awarded. Say, achievements, to have your past achievements catalogued and unlocked. The manner in which HP and CP is calculated has been altered to better represent the differences between different characters. HP is now calculated by multiplying a character's STR with their Santa, while CP is calculated by multiplying your STA and WIS together and adding your STR and int afterwards. Any bonuses or modifiers to your HP and CP will then be added on. The number of skills per day you can learn via skill absorption has been increased from 3 to 5. The alignment system has been overhauled. Now actions taken can affect it, as well as words spoken. New alignments have been added. The Naruto Bingo book has been unlocked. In this section, information about people that you meet and fight is collated, including stats, skills, jutsu and allegiances. The class system has been restructured. Due to the idiosyncratic nature of your world, this is a lot less important than it would be elsewhere. A class usually dictates the sort of skills that a person can use, but as most people on your world are either samurai or ninja, a decision was made to have the classes mostly act as reinforcing your general chakra and weapons skills, with a few differing abilities thrown in here and there. These are the main upgrades to your interface, but the full list can be viewed at any time. New features added, on the other hand, are waiting to be discovered. Go forth and try to find them. Notice from the management. Please select from the 3 options below. This will be your free apology gift for the system going into version up mode so suddenly and without warning. Mastercrafted Konoha Chakra Blade Plus. Mastercrafted Collapsible Spear Plus. Custom set of Shinobi Battle Armor Plus. Feeling his eyes cross from the information overload, Naruto quickly tidied up his kunai and trotted up to his apartment to take it all in. It had been about time for him to call it a night anyway. Eyeing the changes in his living room, he shrugged his shoulders at the change from numbers to a flat percentage. It probably would be easier to tell how close he was getting to leveling up from here on out, but it wasn't an important change, ditto for the removal of daily quests. From the name of the title of the new repeatable quest, D ranks were the same thing by a different name. The only difference would be that he would actually be getting paid by Konoha for doing them. The achievements part looked interesting, so he opened the right page by saying, Achievements. Achievements and you. Achievements are recognition by the system of you accomplishing a goal, be it so little as finishing basic training, to something as mighty as slaying a great enemy. Most achievements garner small rewards of express and ryo for the one who receives them, but some do not due to their nature, while others will grant a title, special status, flaw, consequence, skill, jutsu scroll or object. Do you wish the gamer system to run through the core ADOS data of your life thus far and unlock the various achievements that you have rightly earned? Why, N? As if you even have to ask. The blonde boy scoffed, hitting Y without any hesitation. Running core ADOS scan, done. Chronicling achievements, done. Compiling system achievements matching gamer users life achievements, done. Assigning awards, done. Displaying achievements now. Please note that some of these achievements are merely speaking after the fact. The power of human sacrifice. You have had the Kyubi no Kitsune sealed within you, making you one of the 9 Jinchuriki. Rewards, consequences. Inability to go above average chakra control. Kyubi Jinchuriki, special status forced on you. Kyubi Jinchuriki title made available. Pariah, you are shunned by the majority of people of your hometown due to them knowing of your secret, one you did not even know yourself until recently. Consequence. Pariah, flaw forced on you. Watcher from above, some entity is watching over you and others take note when that happens. Reward, consequence. Perk, Benton's blessing gifted to you, increased chances of running into spiritual entities. 3-time repeater, you have failed your graduation test twice and have gone through the academy's curriculum, as flawed as you now know it to be 3 times. Rewards. 100 express, 500 ryo. King of pranksters, you are the acknowledged top prankster in all of Konohagakure, even able to prank the Ansatsu Senjutsu Tokushu Butai, Anbu, and get away with it. Rewards. Granted Prankster King, special status. The Orange Menace, you are in possession of a set of loud orange clothing that is highly unlike anything worn by a real shinobi. While not exactly the kind of thing you should wear, in terms of training your stealth, if you can sneak around with this on, you can be almost impossible to find wearing real shinobi clothing. Reward, consequence. Eyesore, flaw forced on you, plus 50% to all stealth express gains while wearing aforementioned eyesore of an outfit. The Gamer awakes, you have been selected as the Gamer for your world. Reward. The Gamer title has been assigned to you, the Gamer class has been assigned to you, the Gamer has activated. The basics, you have learned the basics of the Gamer. Reward. 200 express. Coached by a dolphin, Yumino Iruka has given you a revision lesson to repair your damaged foundation of shinobi knowledge. Reward. 100 Express. An affinity for destruction, you have discovered your first two elemental affinities. Reward. Futon, Kudan, Jutsu Scroll, Doden, Dosekadake, Jutsu Scroll. Landlord, you have been given control of a block of apartments, meaning you have to maintain them, as well as collect the rent. Good luck with that last one. Reward. Rent money. Taking a boss like a boss, you have defeated a boss monster. Well done you. Reward. Plus 500 XP, plus 2 attribute points. Clanning up, you have discovered you are a member of a clan. Rewards. Granted special status, member of the Uzumaki clan, and perk, loyalty. Target, at least 200 people have directed killing intent at you within a 48-hour period. You may want to avoid them. Reward. Detect killing intent, skill scroll. Karma's a bitch, you have made your first karmic alignment choice. Remember, what goes around, comes around. Rewards. 500 Express. First kill, you have taken your first life at the tender age of 12. What a world. Reward 500 EXP. One-man platoon, you have faced a platoon of enemies by yourself and emerged victorious with help from their own stupidity, of course. Go you. Reward. Plus 5 dex, plus 5 attribute points. The truth, you confronted your surrogate grandfather regarding the truth of your status as a Jinchuriki. Remember that the truth doesn't always set you free. Reward. Perfect Jinchuriki host perk. Bring in a bounty, you have captured a nuke nin of your home village and handed them in. Reward. Bounty Hunter title. Third time's the charm, you have finally graduated from the academy. About damn time. Reward. Kanahagakure Legacy Hitai 8, Genin class available, Genin title available. Again, the information overload was quite bad, so Naruto closed the window and resolved to go over it later in more detail. The next thing he did was pull up his status screen. He wanted to see what the heck his stats looked like now. Name. Uzumaki Naruto. Class. The Gamer Plus. Level. 17, next level. 61.12%. Title. Genin plus 15% XP to LV25 plus. Age. 12. HP. 4108 4108. CP. 4061 4061. STR. 43. Santa. 46 plus 10. Dex. 45. Int. 41 plus 5. Wis. 37. Luck. Attribute points. 7. Special status. Member of the Uzumaki clan passive plus 5 int, plus 10 STA, plus 15% XP to Fuinjutsu, skill, QB Jinchuriki passive plus 100 HP, plus 100 CP per level, Prankster King passive minus 15% to reputation gains within Kanahagakure, plus 10% to express gains in trap, and stealth skills. Perks. Benton's Blessing. Outside the box. Loyalty. Perfect Jinchuriki host. Flaws. Pariah. Headstrong. Man, the new way of calculating my HP and CP rocks. Naruto remarked, boggling at the way his HP and CP had almost doubled since the last time he'd checked. It really showed how far he'd come since he'd first opened up his status screen just a few months ago. Another irritating ding rang out all of a sudden. Many apologies. Due to the abrupt and disruptive nature of the version up, 2 achievements were missed by the Core 8 scan. Displaying now. Shadowmaster, you are the acknowledged master of the Shadow Clone Jutsu, having created more at once than any other person since its creation. Senju Tobarama would be proud. Reward. Shadowmaster perk. Deep Chakra well, you unleashed an amazing amount of chakra, tapping deep into your burgeoning reserves in a moment of great anger and stress, resulting in improvements to your chakra network and chakra coils. Reward. Permanent increase of plus 500 CP, effective special status QB Jinchuriki, CP increase doubled from here on out. And that was a thing, apparently. Was there more than one being interfering in his life? The Watcher from Above achievement certainly seemed to lean in that direction. Let's see what all of these new perks of mine do, Naruto muttered. Loyalty passive. Your natural disposition is to be very loyal to those you deem worthy of it, as well as to your clan and family. People who know of this loyalty reciprocate it, mostly. There are always outliers. Grants plus 10% reputation gain with those who know of the reason for your loyalty. There is a variable chance for someone to not be affected by this perk if they believe they have a good reason to do so. The variable is calculated by various factors, such as your reputation with them, your home village, their home village, and a host of other reasons too numerous to list. Perfect Jinchuriki host passive. You are descended from the Uzumaki clan, which is known for the exceptionally strong life force and powerful, dense chakra of their clansmen. Combined with their descent from the redacted, this makes them, and by extension you, perfectly suited to host one of the 9 Biju. This means that if you hadn't had the QB sealed within you as a baby, you would be able to have it sealed within you right this instant without any negative effects on your health. For your information, most people would have their chakra coils shattered and die from chakra poisoning if even the weakest of the Biju was sealed within them after a certain age without the assistance of an extremely strong, specialized sealing technique. Even then, negative health effects later in life would have been highly likely. You have a 100% internal resistance to the chakra of the Kyubi no Yoko within you. To anyone else, it is utter poison and will kill anyone affected by it in a very painful manner if injected into their chakra network. When fully manifested outside the chakra network, you will still have to worry about its corrosive effects, so proceed with caution. Shadow Master passive. You have mastered the notoriously chakra-intensive Kage Bunshin no Jutsu beyond any previous user. Not even the Nadaime Hokage could use his own creation to the degree that you do. To reflect this fairly impressive feat, you receive the following bonuses to the Shadow Clone Jutsu. For every clone's worth of CP spent, 2 clones are created. You recover all CP spent as stated above every time 2 clones are destroyed. You have a bonus plus 30% chance to intuit and create jutsu using the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu depending on the situation around you. It now takes 2 strikes from an enemy to dispel a Kage Bunshin unless the hit is to a fatal location. That was all very interesting. What piqued Naruto's interest was that there was a redacted name there. Who were the Uzumaki descended from that the system actually had to censor their name? Duh, it's because I don't know them. He thought a moment later with a mental smack to his head. Obviously the system couldn't give him clues to people he didn't already know or had heard about. He would probably find out from his Gigi after he met his Jonin instructor the next day. Closing the status window, he eyed the 3 choices of items offered by the management, whoever the hell they were, as an apology. He knew that he would have to choose carefully here, so he viewed the 2 that he was more likely to choose. Mastercrafted Konoha Chakra Blade. Konohagakure produces standard issue chakra blades for use by their shinobi forces. A very rare few are created by master blacksmiths which surpass their lesser cousins, designed for use by the village's elite forces. Resembling a larger, more elongated type of kunai, but more akin to a sword, these blades are inscribed with the spiral leaf symbol of Konohagakure at the base of the blade. LV-17. Mastercrafted, short weapon, chakra weapon. Durability 220/220. Piercing damage, S1.5. Slashing damage, S plus 20. Bludgeoning damage, S. Special ability, Chakra Sword Form. This blade is made from chakra conductive metal and inscribed with intricate fuinjutsu. This allows the wielder to channel chakra through it to form a sword that increases its length and damage considerably. When in chakra sword form, the weapon counts as a standard length sword. It can sever chakra threads and its damage chart changes to this. Piercing, S3. Slashing, S plus 40, bludgeoning, S. Mastercrafted collapsible spear. Created by those who wished to use a long weapon without having the burdensome problem of carrying their full size around all the time or sealing it away, the spear more closely resembles a knife in its collapsed form. When extended, it resembles a standard suyari. While useful, its collapsible nature does make it a great deal more fragile than a true spear. LV-17. Durability. 100/100. Both forms. Mastercrafted. Collapsed form. Short weapon. Extended form. Polearm. Piercing damage. C. S plus 15 E. S 2.5. Slashing damage. C. S plus 10 E. S plus 20. Bludgeoning damage. C. S.E. S+1 5. Special ability. Extend and collapse. The user can change the form of this weapon between collapsed form and extended form. It takes 3 seconds to change from collapsed to extended but 30 seconds to go from extended to collapsed. The armor he didn't bother with looking at. While cool looking, there was a reason that the old plate metal armor had been phased out in favor of the flak jackets worn by the Chunin and Jonin these days. While the old school plate armor offered superior protection to both the main body and limbs, it was heavier and restricted the user's movements too much for any but the most well-trained shinobi to use. The flak jackets protected most of the wearer's vitals while still allowing full mobility and a wide range of motion. There isn't really a choice, is there? Naruto asked rhetorically as he selected the chakra blade. He wasn't someone who used polearms, and he couldn't think of any ninja who did, either. Even hammers and axes were more common than spears among ninja. Reaching into his inventory, he pulled out his new blade and tested out its balance with a few swings. It was perfect. He'd have to go to Higarashi's early tomorrow to get his hands on a sheath or holster for it. He wasn't about to carry a sword he couldn't use in combat Kogetsu Kyushiki around, so this would have to do until he could use it. Better still, as it was a short weapon, he could use it and say that he could because it was so similar to a kunai. Letting out a jaw-cracking yawn, Naruto opened up his status screen again and dumped 4 points into his WIS and the last 3 into his STR. It wouldn't change his HP and CP by too much, but every little helps. Bed. I have a big day tomorrow. Naruto muttered before tottering off into his room. Even with how tired he was all of a sudden, his excitement at what awaited him the next day kept him up for a good hour after retiring. The next day. Classroom, Konohagakure Ninja Academy. Entering the classroom in his light combat outfit, Naruto smirked as he made his way up to his usual seat in the classroom and sat down. No matter what happened today, there was no chance that he'd come down off of Cloud 9. He had finally graduated. Casting his eyes about, one eyebrow raised as he noticed the strongest ones in the class, mostly clan heirs, were all present. Hyuga Hinata LV-15. Shy Maiden, Hyuga Heiress. Yamanaka Ino LV-15. Yamanaka Heiress, Mindwalker Adept. Haruno Sakura LV-15. Haruno Heiress, Brainiac. Uchiha Sasuke LV-15. Last Loyal Uchiha, Emo Avenger. Inazuka Kiba LV-15. Inazuka Heir, Aspiring Alpha Male. Aburame Shino LV-15. Aburame Heir, Silent Watcher. Akamichi Choji LV-15. Akamichi Heir. Nara Shikamaru LV-15. Nara Heir, Lazy Genius. All of them were level 15 and everyone but Choji had 2 titles that he could see. That last part was something new. Must be because of the version up, or something, as when he'd looked at them before the change, he'd only seen one. Other than the ninja-born students, Sakura and himself, almost none of the rest were at the academy student level cap. Oh, 1 or 2 were, but almost all of them were in the 9 to 11 range, with some being level 8, the lazy bastards. What the hell had they been doing, playing old maid instead of training? He made a note to have a word with his Gigi about the ones who had actually put in an effort. They didn't deserve to be bored out of their minds for another year if they failed because of their teammates being lazy. Some of the welcome changes to the classroom mostly revolved around Sakura and Ino not getting into catfights at every possible opportunity. Instead, they sparred at least once a week, to the point that Iruka had to step in as referee. They weren't actually angry or hateful towards each other, but they did get out of hand, exchanging pointers with one another. At least they're half-decent at taijutsu now. Naruto thought smugly. He shuddered at how easily he had beaten Sakura way back just after he'd gotten the gamer. Now she was more than able to hold her own, although she could definitely use a taijutsu style that wasn't as widely known as the Hokage style was. Alright class, quiet down. Iruka walked into the classroom with papers under his arm as always, which struck Naruto with a bit of sad nostalgia that he wouldn't see the man do that anymore. Looking around the classroom at the faces of his latest students, the scarred Chunin felt the familiar sadness of seeing his students move on. Of course, most would be back thanks to the tests administered by the Jonin sensei, but the ones who had the most potential out of all of them, the clan kids plus Sakura and Naruto, were the ones who he had interacted with and knew the most. For a variety of reasons. Read. Naruto and his pranks, Kiba, Choji and Shikamaru joining him on occasion to bunk out of class, Sakura and Ino for fighting over Sasuke, that sort of thing. Now class, this is the last day you will be in this class, as you have all graduated. He started. I am very proud of you, but unfortunately, new information has come to light regarding various members of staff altering the curriculum to allow more civilian students to pass. The whispering started up, as expected. Shikamaru, despite his lazy posture, sharpened his gaze as he stared at Iruka, while most of the rest of the class looked surprised. There were two notable exceptions however. Sasuke looked angry, while Naruto was somewhat indifferent, already knowing about it from the Hokage. Quiet please. Iruka called out in a monotone. Once they settled down, he continued in a more lively tone. I am unfortunately guilty of not noticing it happening, for which you all have my apologies. Due to the changes discovered, the Hokage has decreed that anyone who returns to the academy following today shall be put through an intensive 6-month catch-up course before being tested again. This is regardless of how many attempts you have had before now, so all of you repeaters can rest easy. A couple of the civilian kids looked relieved. For those of you who remain a shinobi, the standard 1-squad model is being modified. The scarred Chunin continued. Due to the wide gap in what you have been taught to what you should have been taught, the teams will be grouped into a Genin platoon, where you will cross-train with each other's Jonin sensei to fill in the gaps of what you should have been taught. An older Genin squad, the former Team 9, now called Team Guy, will also be included as they are the only Genin squad active from last year's graduates. Questions. Shikamaru. Exactly what have we not been taught? The lazy boy drawled. To give an example, the only graduate in your class present who has blooded themselves against chakra mutations is Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka stated with a shrug. The number of changes made to the curriculum is numerous and while some are obvious in hindsight, several were quite subtle. Those of you from a clan shouldn't be in any need to worry, it is the civilian-born who are really affected by this interference. Was it the teachers who did it or were they bribed to do it? The Nara heir asked cynically. I am not at liberty to discuss it, Shikamaru. Iruka replied, before adding in a bland voice, on a completely unrelated note, several prominent businessmen have been arrested as of a few hours ago. Whatever might they be accused of, I wonder. That got a few laughs from the kids, although a couple paled at the implication. Let's see, yes. Iruka looked around at the students seriously. The teams that you are currently being assigned are temporary and will be changed to better suit everyone's abilities once you are up to standard. The teams are currently dividing you by what you need help with most, be it taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu or whatever your greatest weakness is currently. Please try to get along with whomsoever you are assigned with, as we emphasize teamwork here at the academy for a reason. There, that should be enough of a hint for them. I'll now start reading out your assigned teams. They aren't up for debate, nor can they be changed until the Hokage says otherwise, so no complaining, I'm looking at you, Kiba. Iruka said quellingly. What? The Inuzuka said faux innocently. Akamaru sat on his head, yipped something that made the boy roll his eyes. Whatever, Akamaru. Shaking his head, the Chunin started reading out a team number, 3 student names followed by the name of a Jonin. Most of the Jonin sensei were unknowns, so there was no reaction to their names. I wonder what Naruto's reaction will be to his sensei. Iruka wondered. Naruto tuned Iruka out once he started listing teams made up of civilians. His eyes wandered over the students who were named, most were around about the same level, with the 3 civilians who were level 15 grouped together. If he were a betting man, Naruto would bet that they'd pass. Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke, Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino, under Jonin Hitaki Kakashi. Iruka announced. Team 8. Hyuga Hinata, Akamichi Choji and Nara Shikamaru, under Jonin Yuhi Kurenai. Team 9 is still on the rolls from last year. Team 10. Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino, under Sarutobi Asuma. There were a variety of reactions to the teams. Sasuke merely grunted, while Kiba groaned and Shino adjusted his glasses. Hinata looked disappointed, while Choji ate more snacks and Shikamaru rolled his eyes and muttered, Troublesome, under his breath. Sakura and Ino simultaneously smacked themselves on their foreheads with a groan. Naruto, on the other hand, was delighted. He had Asuma for his sensei and Sakura-chan as his teammate. He let out a whoop of joy. Best squad ever. Why am I with Sasuke? Kiba demanded. You lack discipline, Kiba. Iruka explained. Sasuke doesn't subordinate well and Shino isn't sociable. You'll be forced to work on these aspects together. And, before anyone else asks, Hinata, Choji and Shikamaru are together because the first two lack confidence, while Shikamaru lacks a drive to succeed, all of which can be worked on. Iruka added. Naruto lacks the ability to work with genjutsu, while Ino and Sakura need to work on their taijutsu and ninjutsu outside of the Academy 3 and Traveling 10. Their team was put together to try and teach each other their strong points. Despite the grumbles, most of the graduates seemed resigned to the team makeups. Your Jonin-sensei will pick you up here after lunch, so be sure to return in time. He said severely before he smiled. You all dismissed, and I wish you all the best of luck in your careers as shinobi of the leaf. As the kids filed out of the class in their teams, Naruto looked over and saw Sakura and Ino glowering at each other. Wincing, he decided to drag the pair of them to Ichiraku's to maybe bond over food or something. Anything was better than this silent cold war going on between them. Lunch is on me, he said as he latched onto an arm apiece as he walked past them. You don't mind ramen, do you? Wah! Hey! Let go, Naruto! Sakura yelped in surprise as she was dragged behind him. What she said. Ino added, trying in vain to get him to let go of her. Nope. If I do that, you'll just go back to scowling at each other. The blonde boy shook his head firmly, dragging both along. There were some advantages to having two female teammates that were very lightly built. I could swear I heard a rumor about your face sticking like that if the wind changed or something. And that would be a crying shame. That's a saying, Naruto. The pinkett corrected him, giving up on getting him to let her go. The blonde menace was surprisingly strong for such a shrimp. Parents say that to their kids to get them to stop pulling faces. Looks like it didn't work with you two, what with the scowling you were both doing a minute ago. He shot back easily. Keeping up the back and forth banter as he dragged them to his favorite eatery in the entire village, Naruto knew that getting these two to get along wouldn't be easy. Same time. Hokage's office. Well, that was unexpected, Asuma remarked. The former Guardian Ninja 12 member stood in his father's office, watching as two members of his future team were dragged by the last one through Konoha. I half expected the girls to start a catfight or something. Naruto-kun has been something of a stabilizing influence on those two over the last few months. Hiruzen answered as Team 10 reached Ichiraku's. Canceling his Tomegan no Jutsu as Naruto started to order, the old Hokage activated the security seals. So, have you managed to suspend your disbelief regarding Naruto-kun's power yet? Somewhat. The bearded man admitted reluctantly. It would explain how he's improved by leaps and bounds over the last 8 months, and how he's learned so many jutsu. It's just a power that treats the world like an RPG. Seriously. So he's not progressed as far as I would like, but further than I anticipated. His father concluded. Initially, when the Hokage had told Asuma about Naruto's gamer power, the other man had thought that his father had been putting him on as some form of payback. Understandable, really, considering that Hiruzen himself would have had a hard time believing it in the other man's place had he not had the Anbu reports regarding Naruto somehow absorbing scrolls and books. Yes, Asuma, I am being serious here. He sighed. Naruto-kun showed it to me directly and I used every trick in the book to break genjutsu, along with several that have never been physically recorded, only for them to have absolutely no effect. Either Naruto-kun has discovered or developed an SSS-ranked genjutsu of the same sort as those cast by the Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan Kaleidoscope Copy Wheel Eye, and has somehow mastered it without anyone in the village noticing, or he is legitimately in possession of a power that allows him to act as an RPG character in one of those newfangled electronic games. Despite himself, Asuma had to laugh. Konohamaru, his nephew and the Hokage's grandson, had crowed for days about beating his grandfather in some kind of one-on-one fighting game on the console called the Nintendo Ninja Way of Heaven. Yeah, Well, it's still hard to swallow, Oyaji. The bearded man grumbled. And why me? I thought you would give Naruto to Kakashi. Because Kakashi would either ignore the power and try to make Naruto-kun ignore it as well, or he would try to get Naruto to share the benefits with his teammates in the name of teamwork, neither of which is a good idea. Sarutobi said seriously. Danzo already sent men after Naruto-kun earlier on this year, and that was simply because of his status as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. News of this latest power of his could make my old teammate lose any restraint he has left in order to acquire the boy. Asuma grimaced. Yeah, Guy was telling me a while back about Naruto standing beside Tenten, in a most youthful manner, against those, Nukenin that made it inside Konoha. Why would ignoring it be a bad idea? Naruto-kun showed me the introduction message that his power showed him when he first got a handle on it. Hiruzen replied. It stated that those who ignored the power usually didn't last very long. Or something along those lines, anyway. That isn't something I'd like to take a chance with regarding Naruto-kun. Adding to that, ignoring such an advantageous ability would not only be wasteful but the height of folly. Hiruzen huffed on his pipe slightly. A ninja is one who uses every advantage at their disposal. That was one of the first lesson Tobirama-sensei taught us. I can accept Kakashi's desire to maintain equality among his students, but I will not allow it to hinder one of my shinobi's growth. Fair points, Pops. The younger Sarutobi conceded, knowing better than to argue with his father, particularly when he mentioned the Nadaime. So what's the next big announcement you have to make, Oyaji? You said yesterday that you were going to announce something to the genin once they pass the real genin exam. I've passed something I call the Genin Housing Act, which mandates that all genin newly graduated from the academy have to move out of their parents' houses and clan compounds to somewhere approved by the Hokage in order to better learn how to balance a budget and live independently. Hiruzen smirked. As it so happens, the only place that has my approval is the Amekage apartments. Clever, very clever. Asuma nodded. His time in the capital, where political intrigue and backroom dealing were daily occurrences, allowing the calculus of that decision to unfold in his mind. I stay there and so does Naruto. Having 7 clan heirs and heiresses, plus the last loyal Uchiha live with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki under the supervision of your own son will show everyone how seriously you are treating this law, and the presence of so many in one concentrated location will allow you to keep several Anbu teams constantly stationed in the area, which will keep Danzo and his ilk from getting any more stupid ideas. I have to wonder how you got Hyuga Hiyashi to sign off on it though. By pointing out that Hinata-chan will be just as safe in the Amekage apartments as in the Hyuga compound, if not safer. The Hokage replied calmly. The Anbu Corps may not have any Hyuga, even branch family Hyuga, in their ranks, but they are far more capable as guards and sentries than Hyuga clansmen. Part of their duties involves protecting the most vital locations in Konoha, after all. That made Asuma nod. As good as he knew he was, even after his long stint as a glorified bodyguard to the fire daimyo, the younger Sarutobi knew that against even one squad of Anbu, he would be hard-pressed to hold them off, let alone win. The plan that his father had for the Amekage apartments would have it ringed by 5 squads at all hours of the day and night. That was just a single squad less than the number on patrol in and around the Hokage Tower itself. Well then, looks like things are going to get interesting indeed. The bearded man muttered before he looked at the clock. Huh, almost time. I'd better go and pick up my new squad. Wish me luck, Oyaji. I doubt you'll need it. Naruto-kun knows you and isn't likely to pull in pranks on you, yet. The Sandaime smirked at his son, who hid a slight flinch of concern. As his son left the room following the deactivation of the security seals, Sarutobi leaned back in his chair and sighed. Getting the GHA through the council hadn't been quite as easy as he had made it sound, mostly because of the Ino Shika-cho's wives coming and nagging at him. Gods, getting Nara Yoshino to stand down had been more strenuous than most of the fights he had taken part in during the prime of his life. Unexpectedly, Yamanaka Sori had been the first to agree with him that it was needed after he explained his own arguments and answered a few questions, with Akamichi Choza's wife falling in shortly afterwards. Under pressure from her 2 friends in her cage, Yoshino had finally surrendered under the condition that she would visit her son weekly to make sure he wasn't falling into bad habits. Well now, let's see what you'll do now, Naruto-kun. The old Kage murmured, once again activating the Tomegan no Jutsu and peering into the crystal ball. Seeing Naruto walking back to the academy with Sakura and Ino following behind him, this time without the blonde boy dragging them by the arms. The old man smirked as he settled in to watch what he was certain would be a good show. Classroom, Konohagakure Shinobi Academy. Naruto was whistling a jaunty tune to himself as he made his way back to the classroom. Behind him, his new teammates were breathing heavily from trying to keep up with the energetic little stamina freak. While her training with Naruto had greatly improved her stamina over the past few months, Sakura was still only barely above the base needed to count it as genin level. And Ino's own training and competitive nature had allowed her to keep up with her frenemy, if only barely. Seriously Naruto, how much energy do you have? The Yamanaka heiress hissed out as Naruto paused to let them catch up at the room's door. She wasn't used to quick marching in order to keep up with someone who was the same age as her. More than you and Sakura-chan put together, Ino. The blonde boy shot back with a toothy grin. Uruka-sensei doesn't call me a stamina nut for nothing. Sensei's right about that. The pink kid offered with a huff. Naruto can outlast me in a spar without even breathing hard. I still don't know how the heck he manages that. She finished, tossing a glare at her new teammate. It was kind of frustrating. No matter how hard she trained, Sakura would always be close to collapsing before Naruto even started to look winded. It's 'cause I'm just that awesome, Sakura-chan. Naruto said with a definite smirk. Ignoring the almost synchronized scoffs from the two kunoichi, the last Uzumaki sat in his old seat for what he guessed would be the last time and settled in to wait for his sensei to arrive. Ino and Sakura reluctantly slid into place on either side of him and did the same. So do either of you know Sarutobi-sensei? Ino asked after a couple of minutes. Yeah, he lives at my building. Naruto nodded. He's a kick-ass teacher. He's taught me more about wind jutsu than I've learned in the academy. With him teaching us, we'll be strong before you know it, Datbeo. Wait, I've heard that name before, isn't he a former member of the Guardian Shinobi 12? The personal bodyguards of the Fire Daimyo himself? Sakura asked with wide eyes. Yup. He doesn't really talk about it much, though. The blonde boy nodded in agreement, having heard that from the man once or twice. Still, he should be able to teach us a lot about being a bodyguard from personal experience, right? Both of the girls nodded thoughtfully. Bodyguard duty wasn't an uncommon job for shinobi, and someone who had acted as a bodyguard to the ruler of Hai no Kuni for over a decade would very likely know more than a few tricks of the trade that would make them very much useful in that department. In the next few minutes, various teams trotted out of the classroom as Jonin-sensei arrived to cart them away. The lady who picked up Team 8 was an interesting one in Naruto's opinion. She wore an outfit that looked as if she had raided a temple and draped herself in paper sutras, and her raven black hair contrasted nicely with her crimson red eyes and pale skin. Yuhi Kurenai LV. Genjutsu mistress of Konoha. Now that was someone Naruto never wanted to fight. Genjutsu were a tremendous weakness of his, even with the protections that the gamer's mind granted him. All that gamer's mind did was prevent him from being terrified or paralyzed with fear from genjutsu. It did nothing to stop him being trapped in illusory genjutsu. He could still be locked in an inescapable labyrinth of an illusion and thus easily removed from a fight. Could having the QB sealed inside me have anything to do with my weakness to genjutsu? He wondered absently. He remembered one lesson mentioning that there were legends from the warring clans era about the nine-tailed fox being controlled via illusions. Yo, Team 10. Asuma's deep voice sounded from the doorway. Naruto looked up quickly to see the man smirking at him. Follow me. The three genin scrambled out of the room, leaving Sasuke, Kiba, Akamaru and Shino alone as the only genin in the room. So, anyone have a pack of cards? Kiba asked after a moment. With the new Team 10. Yakiniku Q, Konohagakure. Wow, this place is pretty cool. Naruto said looking around the room they were in. It had a large grill, which was already cooking some salted beef tongue on it. Never been here before, Naruto? Asuma asked. The man was busy cooking the food, but glanced up to eye his students every now and again. Nah. Never tried to cook barbecue before and I didn't want to waste what little money I had on food I would probably burn. The boy admitted. He was certain that with his level 25 cooking skill, he could handle it now though. Asuma chuckled slightly at that. Fair point, the grills can be tricky for a beginner. I'll show you a few tricks at some point. Once you get the hang of it though, you'll be a regular here, I guarantee it. Ino eyed the meat hungrily. Although she'd enjoyed a veggie ramen at Ichiraku's, which she'd admit was surprisingly good, she still had enough room for more thanks to her discontinuation of her dieting. And the meat here did smell delicious. Sakura swallowed hungrily as she eyed the meat herself. While salted bull tongue wasn't her favorite meat, it was still Yakiniku Q's best-known dish and she rarely ate out, mostly due to the fact that her mother wasn't the type to eat out when it was less expensive to cook from home unless she simply didn't have the time or it was a special occasion. So then, while we wait for the meat to finish, Asuma said with a smile. It's time to talk about the Genin exam you're about to take. Didn't we just take the Genin exam, Asuma-sensei? Sakura asked in confusion. Kinda yes, kinda no. The bearded man replied as he absently started flipping a few pieces of meat over. Yes, you took the Academy Genin exam, but that was simply to clear out those who were clearly incapable of becoming shinobi in the first place. Those of you who have passed the Academy test have proven to have the bare minimum amount of knowledge and skill to become shinobi. Now you, and your classmates, have to pass the Jonin Sensei exam, which varies from sensei to sensei. About 3/4 of you will fail it and be sent back, no thanks to how badly the Academy's standards have fallen in recent years. You've probably already heard all about that from your Chunin sensei. Anyway, once we've eaten our fill here, we'll head to a training field and you'll demonstrate your skills before all three of you spar against me at once. Land a solid blow on me inside of a time limit and you pass. Fail to do that and you go back to the academy. Simple as that. Naruto's eyes bugged out. Man, talk about a high hurdle. Even all three of us put together aren't a match for you. Easy there kid, I'm not going to be going all out. Asuma chuckled before reassuring the blonde Jinchuriki and the now uneasy girls. That would completely go against the purpose of the test. Yes, I could beat all three of you with one hand tied behind me if I wanted to. So what? I'm a Jonin and you three aren't even recognized Genin yet. Unless you had several hours to prep an area with traps for an ambush and I was stupid and cocky enough to walk right into it, there's absolutely no way for you to win against me. What I want to see is if you can come up with a plan to fulfill an objective and then execute it properly. The purpose of the demonstration isn't for me, it's for your teammates so they know what you are capable of. Knowing the skills of your teammates is absolutely essential if you want to make a plan, especially against a stronger enemy. The three Genin absorbed that for a moment, and then exchanged looks with one another. No matter how they stacked the odds in their favor, a Jonin was so far above them in every category that even landing a single blow seemed to be a coin toss at best. I'll keep myself to the strength of the average Chunin, with no jutsu above C rank or my trench knives. Asuma continued as he served up the plates with meat, adding in the veggies that he'd been cooking on the side too. It helps that thanks to my stint with the 12, I'm more than a bit rusty. Sakura tilted her head to the side in curiosity. The Guardian Shinobi 12 are the Fire Daimyo's personal guard, Sakura. We have to be on guard almost all the time, and there are only 12 of us. The bearded Jonin chuckled. Even with us working in shifts, that doesn't exactly leave as much time for training as we might like, and I was a member for over a decade. As much as I'd like to think I haven't gotten weaker from all of that standing around and reduced training time, I likely have. One reason why I decided to take a Genin team is that it lets me ease into the life of a regular Jonin again and rebuild my strength back up to its former level without too much hassle. Makes sense. Ino nodded. Didn't you have an interview with Daddy a couple of months ago too? Mandatory counseling after an extended deployment outside of Konoha. Asuma agreed. Thanks to the Yamanaka clan, our shinobi forces generally speaking have the best mental health in the elemental nations. There are outliers, but we're all in better shape, mentally speaking, thanks to the Yamanaka. Ino looked smug at that. Now tuck in. We have a lot to do today and you need to eat to keep your energy up. Asuma urged them. Not needing any further urging, the three Genin fell upon the barbecue with a gusto. It impressed Asuma how Naruto could eat more food after visiting his favorite ramen eatery, but chalked it up to his Uzumaki heritage. Kushina had been a big eater as well, from what his dad had said. His eyes lingered on the sole male genin for a moment. What his father had told him was utterly ridiculous, a fairy tale practically, but Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't joke about the abilities of the ninja under his command, especially when it came to one Uzumaki Naruto. If the kid really has got some kind of RPG power, then it would explain how he's managed to do a complete 180 from dead last to capable student this year. Asuma mused as he started on his own meal. It would also explain how he learns jutsu so fast as well. This will be interesting, if nothing else. Later. Training Field 10, Kanahagakure Outskirts. Quest Alert. The True Genin exam, your Jonin sensei, Sarutobi Asuma, has revealed that you and your teammates are going to be tested by him to see if you truly deserve the hit I-8 that you wear. In order to pass, your team must land a single solid blow against him, whether it be ninjutsu or taijutsu, within a specified time limit. Quest Reward. Confirmation of Genin rank, 7,500 Express, 10,000 Ryo, 2 random jutsu scrolls. Quest Failure. Demotion back to Academy student. This quest cannot be refused and has thus been auto-accepted. Naruto eyed the pop-up and resisted the urge to frown. After 3 years, he had graduated at long last. He was not going to fail this test. Like hell, he was going to go back to being an academy student after all of this. He leaned back against a tree and glanced around the training ground. It wasn't anything special, at least compared to the chakra-saturated training ground that he frequented. The place was basically a clearing in the middle of a lightly forested area, with a path leading through the trees to the entrance of the training ground. In the clearing itself, which was larger than the entire academy sparring ground, Asuma and Ino were watching with interest as Sakura made a Sujoki Bunshin using the materials that she'd brought with her in scrolls. I have to say, I haven't seen someone use a Sujoki Bunshin in a good while. Asuma commented appreciatively. Shame, as it's a heck of a lot more useful than the standard Bunshin. You know any Suiten ninjutsu to go along with it, Sakura? A couple of low-rank techniques that my father taught me, but just supplementary ones. The Pinkett admitted. One to increase the amount of water vapor in the air by taking it from water nearby, and one that keeps too much water vapor away from my hair. Frizzy hair protection. Ino nodded sagely. Something to work on later. The bearded Jonin mused. A lot of powerful Suiten techniques are chakra-intensive if they have to create water from scratch, but the more water in the area to draw upon, the lower the cost in chakra. If you're on a lake or close by the coast, the main cost of a Suiten jutsu is in manipulating the pre-existing water. Isn't that for people with a strong Suiten affinity? Naruto asked. Mostly, but someone with a lot of practice and talent can do it as well. Asuma explained. Hokage-sama trained himself to the point that he can use Suiten, Raiden and Futon just as easily as his natural Kaden and Doten affinities. It's one reason why he's called the professor. Of course, trying to emulate my Oyaji is impossible for most people, otherwise elemental affinities wouldn't matter other than to catalog the types of jutsu. The best that most people manage when they put the effort into it are 3 elemental affinities, plus middling competency in a 4th. I stick to my Futon and Kaden affinities as a matter of preference. Naruto watched as Ino gave a demonstration of her own skills, which were, rather surprisingly, less than Sakura's own. Aside from the Academy 3 and Traveling 10, the only unique jutsu that she had were the basic Shintenshin no Jutsu, the staple technique of the Yamanaka clan, as well as what she called the Sabama no Mai throwing technique, which looked to be slightly more advanced than Naruto's own Hiko Yoshin fast draw technique, although Naruto was fairly certain his own throwing technique was a higher level than Ino's was. Naruto, your turn. Asuma called out. 1 jutsu of each element and a demonstration of your fast draw technique please. Gotcha, Asuma-sensei. The blonde-haired boy smirked. Nothing above C rank, right? Yup. The Jonin smirked back as he lit up a new cigarette. He was very thankful his old man had taught him a chakra trick all those years ago that kept the tar in the tobacco smoke from harming his lungs. It meant that he could indulge in his bad habit and not worry about becoming weaker because of it. Okay then, for my first trick. Doten. Yansetsuken. Naruto said as he ran through 3 hand signs, picked a rock up off the ground and made the stone lengthen into a short spear as tall as he was. Wow, Instant weapon. Ino blinked. That's only part 1. The boy grinned. Here's the more useful version. Once again running through the same 3-hand signs, Naruto turned and stomped onto the ground, forcing a wave of stone spears to erupt from the ground and fly through the air to slam into the trees, shredding one. Holy crap. Sakura balked at the sight. Not bad. Asuma nodded. The cluster was tightly packed enough to be a serious threat, but dispersed just enough to be properly difficult to dodge. You'd have to destroy or block the spears if you aren't quick enough to dodge them. No using that on Asuma-sensei. Ino warned Naruto, who rolled his eyes. As if he'd let himself be hit by them. Jonin, remember. The boy rolled his eyes. Anyway, next up. Kaden. Hotarubi. After making the 5-hand signs for the jutsu, Naruto breathed out a small cloud of fireballs the size of a dice, which quickly flew forward and then abruptly exploded in a chain reaction. Aha! So you mastered it. Asuma said with a smile. Yup. Naruto smirked. Just got it down pat a couple of days before the Genin exam. It turned out that the level cap of the D-rank Kaden jutsu was 25, and this is what it looked like. Kaden. Hotarubi no Jutsu, active, LV 25, LV max. Fire style. Firefly Fires is a D-rank jutsu designed to introduce beginners to Kaden jutsu. After making the hand signs, the user breathes out a stream or cloud of up to hundreds of tiny fireballs about the same size as a dice. Ordinarily a weak jutsu of no threat to anyone of Chunin rank or above, the user of this jutsu has mastered it to the degree that he can command the fireballs to explode on command to cause extra damage. Hand signs. Tiger Ox Monkey Boar Tiger Hare. Range. 5 meters. Number of fireballs created. Randomly between 150 to 500. Damage per mini fireball, normal, 55. Damage per mini fireball, explosion, 220. Costs 50 CP to use. Mastery bonus. CP cost halved. It was leagues above how it had been when he first got it. Naruto really wanted to see how Sasuke would stack up with the same jutsu. That's pretty cool. Sakura admitted. Fire isn't one of my elements, but I thought having at least one jutsu from each would be a good idea. Naruto shrugged. The next 2 jutsu he demonstrated were Suiten Ninpo, Mizuame Bakuho, and Futon, Kaden Shuriken, which impressed both Ino and Sakura. Asuma made a note to himself to ask if he still had the scroll for the wind-style jutsu. They were so hard to find that even he only had a handful of them at his disposal, and there was absolutely no way he was going to ask the only other primary futon affinity user in Konoha, one Shimura Danzo, due to the fact that the man was an old war hawk. Lessons from him would come with strings that would only increase with time. Asuma was fine learning and experimenting at his own pace, thank you very much. Okay, this is the last ninjutsu that I'm gonna show. Naruto declared as he ran through 3 hand signs, ending with the rat hand sign. Raiden. Denko Sekka. Extending his hands, Naruto grinned as lightning crackled around them before 4 snowflakes of electricity formed around them and fired them across the clearing like shuriken. They smacked into a tree before dissolving into motes of static. That's a pretty unusual jutsu. Asuma commented, tilting his head to the side curiously. It wouldn't be effective at doing serious damage unless it hit the face, but it would be distracting. It isn't as polished as your other jutsu, I notice. Yeah. Raiden isn't one of my elements, and it's pretty much the opposite of Futon, so using it's harder than Suiten or Kaden. Naruto answered with an irritated pout. He'd trained with it and it was still only level 10. All of the other jutsu he'd learned were at least 5 levels higher than it. I don't think I'm going to be learning many Raiden techniques. It's not a bad idea. Leaving off studying the element naturally opposed to your primary is actually pretty common for even ninjutsu experts. Asuma agreed. I only know a handful of Raiden and Suiten myself because of that. I do want you to try to master this jutsu though. You never know when a jutsu can come in handy if everyone knows that you don't use a particular element. Sakura and Ino nodded obediently in acknowledgement. Neither of them thought they'd use elemental ninjutsu much though. Sakura was a genjutsu type kunoichi, while Ino used her family's specialized style of ninjutsu to great effect. Neither envisioned themselves using anything like Naruto's little arsenal. Although Asuma's next words made them pout. Regardless of your eventual specialization, I will expect all members of my team to have at least 2 elemental ninjutsu in their arsenal, just in case. Asuma added before Naruto demonstrated a very practiced and clean Hiko Yoshin fast draw technique, sending 2 shuriken and 2 kunai slamming into the same tree that had been the target of his Raiden jutsu. Not bad. The Jonin nodded. Okay, now that you all have some idea of each other's skills, you 3 have half an hour to thrash together a plan to fight me. Other than the fact that you aren't allowed to use jutsu above C rank, anything goes. Traps, jutsu, weapons, the lot. Don't hold back. Off you go now. As Asuma wandered off to have a smoke, Sakura frowned. Why would he emphasize the fact that we aren't allowed to use jutsu above C rank? We're genin, even the best jutsu Naruto showed him was only C rank. Because I do have a couple of B rank jutsu. Naruto admitted honestly. One's a clone jutsu, and the other's a defensive futon jutsu. How? Sakura gawped at him. Wait, the Kage Bunshin no jutsu. That's a B rank. Wow. Wait, he knows that jutsu. Daddy talked about it once, it's a kinjutsu. Ino stared at Naruto incredulously. It can kill you if you use it too much. How the heck? Not the time. Naruto shook his head. I can also use futon. Fujinheki, a defensive jutsu that I wouldn't use against someone who I know uses Kaden jutsu anyway, but what the heck? I also have, right. I also have a shurikenjutsu technique I can't use either. Every other technique I have can be used, just not those 3. Just how many do you know? Sakura demanded. Naruto shrugged nervously. A few. The 2 kunoichi eyed him before exchanging a glance. Suspicious. They said simultaneously. Can we get to planning already? The blonde boy asked, somewhat desperate to not have to tell the 2 of them that, including 2 of the Academy 3 and all of the traveling 10, he knew 43 jutsu of various types. 11 Doden, 9 Futon, 5 Suiten, 3 Kaden, 2 Raiden and the rest were chakra-neutral jutsu. The chakra Nagashi no jutsu, he counted as neutral because it depended upon the elemental affinities of the one who used it. Mentally cracking his knuckles as the 2 girls became serious and nodded at him, Naruto set his mind to his most pressing task yet, planning how to land even one solid blow on a Jonin. Half an hour later. Asuma eyed the 3 12-year-old genin standing a distance away from him and going through their last plans with each other. He honestly wondered what the heck they were going to come up with to get to him. Given how Naruto was pretty damn good at those pranks of his, the Hokage kept a record of the more outlandish and well-planned ones and had given it to Asuma to look over. Several had made Asuma laugh his ass off. The Jonin knew better than to underestimate him. Add in Sakura's frankly scary intelligence and knowledge base and Ino's cunning, he was almost certain that he was going to regret not putting any limits other than stopping Naruto from spamming Kage Bunshin to overwhelm him. I really feel sorry for those poor kids who have Kakashi as a Jonin sensei, he mused whimsically. The silver-haired, Cyclopean Jonin was basically going to pass his team no matter what they did due to all 3 of them being clan heirs, even his status as the hero of the Sharingan, and the last living pupil of the Yondaime Hokage wouldn't stand up to the backlash of making the last Uchiha and the Inuzuka and Aburame heirs flunk back to the academy. Still, he was probably going to put them through hell, even if he couldn't fail them. From what he'd gathered, the Uchiha boy had an ego problem, so he'd likely go along with his usual bell test, which was his prerogative. Asuma still thought that it was a bit much for fresh genin to be expected to look underneath the underneath at that age. He knew it had taken Kakashi a few years of active service to learn that particular lesson, despite being a genius, so why he expected kids to do better at 12 he didn't know. Okay you 3, time's up. He called as he extinguished his cigarette. Have you managed to pull a plan together? Yup, Datbayo. Naruto declared confidently. Sakura and Ino were less confident than their teammate, but still certain about the fact they had a plan. The looks of determination on their faces were actually somewhat adorable. That's good to hear, Asuma said in amusement. Need any prep time? No. I don't think so, Sakura said with an uncertain frown. Naruto. Any trap I could make, even a Chunin would be able to detect and destroy in the forest. Naruto shook his head. I'm good at traps in places like the village proper, but less so in forests, only good enough to catch rabbits and the like. Asuma made a note to work on that with him. If they passed his test. Reaching into his pouch, Asuma withdrew a simple timer clock and started fiddling with it. It's 2 right now. You 3 have the next 4 hours to try and land one solid hit on me. You 3 ready? The genin nodded and took combat stances, ready to move at a moment's notice. All right then, start. Asuma said and pressed one final button on the timer before placing it on the ground. In an instant, the 3 genin vanished into the trees. Niece. I was half expecting Naruto to charge at me right from the get-go, but looks like he's done more than train his jutsu over the past year. The Jonin half smirked as he held himself in an easy stance. It would probably take the 3 a couple of minutes before they would possibly be ready to attack. With a shout, 3 copies of Naruto charged out of the woods to his left. One ran through several hand signs and shouted, Doden, Dashikuzer. Before a wave of mud erupted from his feet and flew across the ground towards Asuma, who automatically leapt to the side to avoid it. This led him into the angle of the second Naruto copy, who fired off a Doden, Gansetsuken barrage at him. Futon. Daitapa. Asuma intoned, using only one hand sign, Tiger, to invoke the technique. This powered down the technique enough that it didn't smash the clones while still possessing enough power to scatter all of the flying spears. Wait, where's the last one? The Jonin wondered, looking around quickly. I can't see it, so, below. He leapt back just in time to avoid a large rock shooting out from the ground where he'd been standing seconds before. The Dongan was almost 3/4 of Asuma's height, which made him sweat drop. I know I said, don't hold back, and, anything goes, but that's ridiculous. He thought in alarm. Asuma jerked his head to the side as a yell came from his left. Suiten. Udachi. What had to be the real Naruto shouted. Moments later, 8 darts of water formed and shot at Asuma. Futon. Repusho. The Jonin clapped his hands together, sending a gale of wind towards the incoming water darts. Repusho, or Gale Palm, was a fairly underrated C-rank futon jutsu that was perfect for deflecting groups of lightweight projectiles like this. Naruto smirked as he finished the next series of hand signs though. Kaden. Hotarubi. He spat out a large stream of small fireballs at Asuma, which just so happened to pass through his repusho, enlarging them by a fair amount. Wide-eyed, Asuma scrambled back to avoid the fireballs, now the size of apples, as they detonated in a rippling wave. Had he been caught in that, even as a Jonin, he wouldn't have walked away without at least a minor injury. Dodging again, and wasn't that becoming tiresome? Asuma avoided another Dashikuzer from what he guessed had to be an Iwa Bunshin before he dodged another Dongan from the second clone. As he landed, the Jonin leapt away instantly, just avoiding the soil crumbling beneath him to reveal a pit beneath the thin lid that had concealed it. How the must be Doden, Otoshinana, he thought as he fell back. He must have his third clone traveling underground using Doden, Dochu Igyo, Doden, Moguragakur or Doden, Iwagakur. Where he would learn the last one is beyond me, but it's possible given his weird, gamer, powers. Asuma decided that he'd let the kid have enough for now, it was about time he started fighting back. He couldn't let Naruto have it entirely his own way, after all. Forming the bird hand sign, he fired back. Futon. Kudan. Wind style. Air bullets. He growled before firing off a barrage of compressed air spheres from his mouth, aimed right at the 2 Iwa Bunshin. They struck them and shattered the rock clones into pieces. Abruptly, he felt something grabbing his feet. Looking down, Asuma saw a couple more Naruclones popped out of the earth and grasping his legs. Struggling, he found it pretty hard to move, they were strong little buggers. Hearing feet move, he looked up and silently swore as he saw Ino setting up to use the Shintenshin no Jutsu. Forcing some chakra into his legs, he broke the grip of the Iwa Bunshin and leapt to the side. The Shintenshin no Jutsu was a very good way to capture a target, but it required the target in question to be immobilized first, as it traveled from the user very slowly. Any kind of serious movement meant it would miss. Shanaru. Sakura roared as she erupted from the ground beneath him, making Asuma's eyes widen in surprise. She drew her fist back and slammed a punch into his side, one that was far more powerful than someone of her build should possibly be capable of. He had instinctively reinforced his body with chakra, so the punch hadn't actually damaged him, but it still hurt like a son of a bitch. Ha! We did it, Datbayo. Naruto cheered triumphantly as he poked his head out of the ground. When the heck did forehead get so strong? Ino asked, eyes bugged out as Asuma sailed through the air, only to twist and flip in midair to land on his feet. Phew. Sakura breathed out slightly before she winced and shook her hand. Oh, like I still haven't fully mastered the Karata Kyoka no Jutsu yet. Considering that's a Chunin-level jutsu, that's not exactly surprising, Missy. Asuma remarked as he walked over to the timer and clicked it off. I must be rustier than I thought if 3 genin could land a solid blow on me in 15 minutes. Those clones of yours are scarily effective, Naruto. So what if I can't use the standard bunshin? At least the clones that I can use are more useful than a bunch of illusions. The blonde boy grinned. Most of the time Iwa bunshin are a lot less responsive and quick to obey than yours are. Asuma informed him absently. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Congrats you 3. You've passed my test. So as of now we are officially Team 10. Welcome to the Shinobi Forces, kids. The glee on the 3 young faces make him chuckle. Later. Kitchen, Naruto's apartment, Amekage Apartments. Quest complete. The True Genin exam, you and your teammates have successfully completed and executed a plan that resulted in him receiving a solid blow. Congratulations on becoming a full-fledged ninja of the Leaf, gamer. Quest reward. Confirmation of Genin rank, 7,500 Express, 10,000 Ryo, Futon. Shinku Taegyoku no Jutsu, Scroll, Futon. Hanachiri Mai no Jutsu, Scroll. Naruto couldn't wipe the smile off his face as he made some tea for his guest. He was a real ninja now, not just a probationary member. And he had 2 more Futon Jutsu to add to his arsenal. This day rocked. Here's your tea, Asuma-sensei. He said as he walked back into the living room and gave the cup to his teacher, who had asked to speak to him once he got back from reporting to the Hokage. Thanks, Naruto. Asuma nodded before sipping his tea and hummed. Pretty damn good. Having my cooking skill at level 25 is pretty useful. Naruto said evenly as he sat down and watched as a mix of surprise and skepticism crossed the older man's face for a moment. Right. Oyaji told me that you knew I'd know about your ability. The Jonin said carefully. Forgive me for saying so, but it sounds, well, plain ludicrous. Try seeing it from my point of view. Naruto laughed. I still have a hard time believing it exists after almost a year of using the thing. It's, well, calling it overpowered is an understatement. If even half of what I've been told is true, then that's truer than you think. Asuma aloud. Can you offer any proof that it exists? Naruto thought. I could show you my skill learning system. He said after a moment. If you still need convincing after that, I'll invite you into a party like I did with Gigi. Asuma couldn't help but chuckle again at someone referring to his old man so casually. It was a bit jarring, but at the same time it was nice to hear. The Hokage had so very few people to treat him as a person as opposed to the authority figure that most people in the village had known him as for most of their lives. Okay then, let me see what you have in mind. The older man invited. He blinked in surprise when Naruto pulled a scroll out of nowhere. Surreptitiously using a trick to break genjutsu, Asuma frowned before asking, and what scroll is that? It has, Futon, Shinku Taegyoku no Jutsu, on it. Naruto replied. That's a pretty rare and powerful jutsu. Only one man that I am aware of in Konoha has that jutsu. Shimura Danzo. Asuma said grimly. Try to avoid using it where people outside of our team can see it, otherwise Jonin might think he taught you it. I generate a copy of the jutsu scroll whenever I absorb one. Naruto said thoughtfully. I could just say that I found it on a mission once we take one that's outside Konoha. That'll work. Asuma nodded. It was a good excuse, you never knew where you'd find jutsu scrolls when in the field. Without further ado, Naruto pressed something in the air and the scroll he held in his other hand dissolved into motes of blue light which whirled around Naruto's body and then disappeared into his chest. Asuma's jaw gaped open for a moment before he ran through every method of genjutsu dispersal that he could think of. The sight before him didn't change, but he could easily attribute that to some form of space-time ninjutsu. Seeing that in his eyes, Naruto sighed and flicked his hand through the air for a moment. Seconds later, a window appeared right in front of Asuma, who jerked back in shock. Party invitation. Uzumaki Naruto has invited you into his party. Accept. Y.N. After once again running through every method of genjutsu dispersal he could think of, Asuma cautiously pressed the Y key. An instant later and a small window replaced the first, with his name followed by a whole slew of numbers. Asuma was more up-to-date with RPGs than his father, so he was better able to grasp what it all meant. This is, he muttered. Check this out too, Asuma-sensei. Naruto called and flipped a screen that was in front of him around to face the Jonin. Futon. Shinku Taigyoku no Jutsu, Instant, LV1, 0%. Wind Style. Vacuum Great Sphere, otherwise known as Vacuum Bomb or Vacuum Blast, is a more powerful version of Futon, Shinkugyoku. Unlike the weaker version, the user compresses the air breathed in into a single, large blast of air rather than multiple smaller blasts. The force of a mastered vacuum great sphere is strong enough to crush and shatter concrete and rock as if they were nothing. Hand signs. Tiger, dog. Sphere size, basketball. Range, 10 meters. Damage. Int *WIS plus LV of primary Futon affinity bludgeoning damage. Chakra cost, 75 CP. Asuma took that in, his mind racing. It didn't just tell Naruto the effects of the jutsu and its effective range, it told him back history and alternate names for the jutsu as well. This was. He looked up and saw Naruto absorb the other scroll and turned the screen around to face him as well. Futon. Hanichiri Mai no Jutsu, Instant Continuous, LV1, 0%. Wind Style. Flower Scattering Dance is a wind style technique hailing from unknown origins. Some believe it originated from the Nadeshiko village, while others argue it comes from Kei's no Kuni like many other futon techniques. Regardless of which origin is the real one, this is a highly useful jutsu. The user summons forth a whirling cyclone of wind that the user can direct as they will, allowing them to remain stationary. The user can also control its size and rotation speed, allowing them to switch from offense to defense and back in an instant. Hand signs. Tiger, hare, dragon. Range. Up to 10 meters away. Standard radius. 11 inches. Maximum radius. 22 inches. Standard rotation speed. 210 rpm. Maximum rotation speed. 420 rpm. Damage. Int plus LV of primary Futon affinity. Chakra cost. 40 CP to activate, 10 CP to maintain per minute. 5 CP cost to alter rotation speed and radius once active. Asuma's eyebrows rose up even higher in disbelief. It even mentioned such finicky little details as the rumors about the origins of the jutsu and allowed Naruto to control its rotational speed and width. Dear sweet Kami, this was incredible. Asuma said in disbelief. With this gamer ability of yours, you'll be incredibly powerful. Yeah, but it isn't exactly easy. Naruto reminded him. Just like with regular jutsu, I have to put in the work to master any jutsu I learn, and I can only learn 5 jutsu a day by using scroll absorption. The rest I have to learn from trying and failing. Not to mention that they start off weak as hell at level 1. Not so much different from practicing the jutsu to get it right then. Asuma latched onto the last comment. No one gets a jutsu right the first time they use it, Naruto. Sometimes it even blows up in their faces. That happened to me when I was a chunin. I had gone through every aspect of my Kaiden, Hisekisho fire style, ash pile burning, and thought that I had it down pat. Instead, I blew myself up and got slammed ass first into a tree. Ouch. Naruto winced. Tell me about it. The older man grumbled, taking a deep calming lungful from his cigarette before continuing. Okay, so it's not a straight-up instant mastery, more of a head start and an ability to quickly learn the basics and a few of the finicky bits. That's actually a bit reassuring honestly. Having to repetitively practice with the jutsu will let you get to know the jutsu you learn and gain practical experience with them, which is just as important as technical knowledge. The limit you have is also good. It'll stop you from simply learning jutsu after jutsu without mastering any. How many jutsu do you have mastered, anyway? Air. Kawarimi, Henge, the Traveling Ten and Kaden, Hotarubi. Naruto recited. Although Gansetsuken, Dongan, and Kaden Shuriken aren't far off maxing out. That's good. Asuma nodded. Okay, here's my first instructions for you as a Jonin sensei. I want you to finish maxing out those 3 jutsu and then demonstrate them to me. Then I want you to try and master 2 more jutsu that are not one of your elemental affinities. Hi, Asuma sensei. Naruto nodded. Oh, I forgot to mention that when I master a jutsu, sometimes I get a mastery bonus to go along with it. Kaden, Hotarubi gave me a reduced chakra cost on its use when I mastered it. Blinking, Asuma had to take a moment to process that. That seems very random. It varies. The boy replied with a shrug. Mastering E-rank jutsu either gives me a quest, AD rank jutsu of the same element, or a level in AD rank jutsu of the same element that I already know. Your gamer power is going to give me headaches, I just know it. The Jonin sighed tiredly, leaving Naruto to shrug helplessly. My Raiden jutsu is one of the ones I'll try to get up, I think. Naruto frowned a moment later. Denko Sekka is hard to level up, but I kinda want to see what mastering bonus I get for maxing it out. Given how it's your weakest element, I would be curious to see that as well. Asuma nodded in agreement. Anyway, I'm gonna head back to my apartment for the night. Oh, by the way, the Hokage wants you to report to his office at 9 sharp tomorrow morning. Gigi does. What for? Naruto blinked in surprise as Asuma finished his tea and stood up. He absently dissolved the party as the man stretched. No clue, I'm just the messenger. Asuma shrugged. By the way, have you fixed up all of the apartments here? Yup. It was useful training for my Kage Bunshin. Naruto nodded. They're all as clean as whistles, they all have basic kitchen appliances and beds. Just about the only things they don't have is running water or active electricity, and all I need to do is turn them on. Why? I think you're going to get new tenants. Asuma smirked as he left. Naruto blinked for a moment before his higher int and whiz stats helped him put the pieces together and he facepalmed. Damn it. I'm going to have the bastard in my apartment building. The boy grumbled. And Kiba. I swear if he lets Akamaru piss all over the place, I'll neuter them both. Grumbling, Naruto blinked as a new pop-up appeared. Quest alert. Gotta master 'em all. Your Jonin sensei, Sarutobi Asuma, has issued you with your first individual goals as a genin. Fulfill them to make him respect the gamer system. Quest Goal 1. Max out Doden, Gansetsuken, Doden, Dongan and Futon, Kaden Shuriken before reporting to Asuma sensei. Quest Goal 2. Max out 2 other elemental jutsu that are not either Doden or Futon. Goal 2 Bonus Objective. Have one of the 2 jutsu be Raiden, Denko Sekka. Quest Goal 1 Rewards. Plus 100 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, plus 5000 Ryo, plus 5000 XP. Quest Goal 2 Rewards. Plus 500 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, a trip to the library to select your Kodachi and Tanto styles, plus 5000 XP. Quest 2 Bonus Objective Reward. Plus 500 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, Doden Kage Bunshin, Scroll, Futon, Kase no Yeba no Jutsu, Scroll. This quest cannot be refused and has been auto-accepted. Another quest that can't be refused. Naruto hitched an eyebrow at this. Well, I guess that you can't exactly say no to an order or instruction in the military, so maybe that's why I can't say no to quests given by superiors. It's worth thinking about. With that thought, Naruto headed off to cook dinner and then do some fuinjutsu practice before bed. He had a feeling that he'd need the rest for tomorrow. The next day. Outside of Amekage Apartments. Sheesh, that's a lot of luggage datbayo. Naruto let out a short whistle. There were men from the Hyuga, Yamanaka, Inazuka, Akamichi, Aburame, Nara and Haruno clans out there, sorting out luggage and getting guided to the correct room via one of his shadow clones. Actually, compared to when civilians move on their own, it really isn't. Uruka said from next to him. The two were standing on the walkway outside Naruto's own room, simply watching the proceedings. Storage scrolls make moving a lot easier and less cluttered, keeps things down to just a few boxes of scrolls and anything fragile enough that the user doesn't want to risk breaking when it is unsealed. Are all the rooms ready for their new tenants to arrive? Yeah, just turned the water and power on this morning. Even had Gigi give them a once-over before this lot arrived, he gave everything the okay. Naruto answered smugly. The scarred Chunin chuckled. Glad to hear it. You do realize that you're going to have to give a welcoming speech to all of the new tenants, right? Actually, who is moving in here? Sakura-chan, Ino, Shikamaru, Shino, Sasuke, Choji, Ten-chan, Hinata, Hyuga Neji and Rock Lee. Naruto listed off. Aside from Asuma-sensei, none of the Jonin-sensei are staying here. Well, most of them already have their own homes or apartments that they've lived in for years. Uruka pointed out. It's no surprise that they're not upping sticks for this place. I wouldn't want to. I've lived in my house since I was a boy, and I find it a nice, comfortable and relaxing to live in. The draw of the familiar and comfortable is a strong pull, Naruto. Remember that. Hi, sensei. Naruto nodded. By the way, thanks for stopping by and helping out here. I'd have thought you'd be busy getting ready for the new academy class that's gonna start next month. Fortunately, I won the luck of the draw this time around. The Chunin sighed in relief that he was out of that mess of fuss and feathers for once. Hokage-sama's tapped me to act as supervising administrator for newest batch of genin. I'll basically be helping your instructors make sure all of the bureaucratic and administrative stuff like accepting and reporting missions is done accurately for your first year as genin. It makes things go a bit smoother until you all get some experience in handling the day-to-day minutia of being actual shinobi. I'm not looking forward to the D ranks. The Jinchuriki grumbled. Ten-chan's told that they're basically people paying us to do chores. You have to get your feet wet somehow. Uruka responded sternly. D ranks are no-risk missions that you and your teammates can complete while still leaving you plenty of time to train and advance your abilities under your sensei. You all need a lot more experience and some actual combat training before you're ready for even a low C rank. Even tracking down bandit lairs or guarding caravans isn't an easy job. Be patient and accrue experience and you'll define. I do get experience in a very literal sense, Uruka-sensei. Naruto's sweat dropped. Thanks to the gamer, I'm a walking RPG character. It doesn't make the idea of doing missions that are just chores dressed up prettily any less boring. He groused aloud. Look at it as a training exercise, Naruto. Uruka advised wisely. I'll admit, I thought much as you did back when I first became a genin, but I found a way to make the dull D ranks work for me. I used them to train my ninjutsu. Take painting fences, a pretty common D rank mission. I adapted Suidan ninjutsu to paint the fences instead of using brushes or rollers. For walking the Inuzuka clan's dogs, I used it as a chance to get some good running practice in. Adapt to the circumstances and you'll see that all sorts of ninja skills can be trained by using the D ranks. How'd you get a Suidan jutsu to work with paint? Naruto blinked in surprise. From what little he knew about water release techniques, they were primarily designed to work with, well, water. He'd hear of a couple designed to work with oil and other liquids, but they had to be specifically designed to work with something other than water. Well, my Jonin-sensei was a Suidan expert, so he naturally knew and used a variety of techniques and tried to pass on some of his skills to us. The scarred Chunin said with a thoughtful look on his face. One that he made sure to teach all of us was Suidan, Suigan Suima no Jutsu, water style, water army water demon. It's a low C rank jutsu that allows the user to either manipulate pre-existing water or create water to fire a short-ranged stream of water. It was actually designed to be used primarily for fire fighting, but it's easy to adapt for other uses. The hand signs are normally boar, dog, horse, and tiger, but my sensei told me that by swapping out the boar hand sign for the bird hand sign, it makes the jutsu focus less on water, and more on simply liquids, in general instead. You have to be careful that you don't grab any other liquids nearby like puddles or even mud when you use it, but otherwise it makes painting a lot quicker and more efficient and it's great practice for Suidan ninjutsu. I'll definitely have to look into that jutsu. Naruto swore. No way was he going to get stuck doing boring-ass painting all day for some spending money. I'll look forward to you mastering it. Uruka said in amusement before remembering something. I did stop by for something other than checking in and offering moral support, Naruto. Here, this is for you. Reaching into his pouch, the Chunin-sensei withdrew a couple of scrolls and handed them to his former student. What are these, Uruka-sensei? The blonde boy asked. The first scroll contains all of Mizuki's ninja gear, minus his flak vest and Hitai-8. Uruka informed him seriously. All of his possessions were thoroughly checked over before being cleared to be awarded to you, Naruto. That's about 400 regular shuriken and kunai, a dozen of his dai shuriken, several reels of ninja wire, a couple of stacks of explosive notes and 6 scrolls containing various ninjutsu and genjutsu. The genjutsu might be a bit tough for you, but maybe Sakura and Ino can make use of them. Cool. Naruto said enthusiastically. And the other scroll? Mostly furniture and the like that Mizuki owned. He kept his parents' house, which is being auctioned as we speak. Uruka said. The funds will be given to you once that's finished. I know you don't really need the furniture, but you could use them as emergency backups in case something happens to the stuff you already have in the building, maybe. Awesome. That'll save me money with the furniture shops. Naruto cheered. Even with the Hokage breathing down their necks, some of the shops in Konoha were still reluctant to sell him anything, with some of them still trying to overcharge or price gouge him whenever they got an opportunity. Glad Mizuki was good for something. Uruka muttered. He was still horrified that his friend could have done something as blatant as trying to betray Konoha. Not to mention trying to frame Naruto for his own crime. He was going to need a stiff drink tonight if he didn't want to be kept up by his own thoughts. Luckily a distraction arrived to pull Uruka away from that sour line of thought. Looks like your new tenants are waiting for you, Naruto. He commented, nodding towards where 8 new genin, and 3 older genin, stood at the front of his building. You'd better go off and get down to business, landlord Uzumaki. Hahaha, right. Naruto chuckled nervously. This is gonna be tough. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. Uruka advised him before messing with his former student's hair again, making Naruto swat at him peevishly. Now I do have to go. Meet me at Ichiraku's after work and I'll treat you to a bowl. You got it, Dadabato. Naruto cheered. He was in no way stupid enough to turn down a free bowl of his personal food of the gods, no sir. The fact it gave him some motivation to deal with his former classmates/new tenants was a big bonus. Slipping the scrolls into a pair of slots in his utility belt, Naruto headed over to meet the newest people to live in the Amekage apartments. Yo, how's it going? He asked cheerfully. Hey Naruto. Tenten greeted him with a warm smile. Pretty nice place the Hokages set up, isn't it? Yup. And I'm the landlord, believe it or not. Naruto said with a chuckle. Tenten already knew that, as did Sakura, but for the rest it was pretty shocking news. Wait, how the hell is this your place? Kiba demanded in disbelief. Last I heard, you rented that shitty-ass apartment near the dead district. I got turfed out thanks to a group of people breaking in and wrecking the place. Naruto answered with a helpless shrug. Gigi set me up with this place and made me the landlord. Any other questions before I give you all a rundown on the basics? There were none, so Naruto gave the speech he'd been readying since he'd found out he would have his classmates as his tenants. Okay, so, you are now all tenants of the Amekage apartments. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the landlord here. He said easily, thankful that his gamer's mind kept him cool, calm and in control in this kind of situation. For those of you with clans, your apartments have been paid for in advance for the first month. This leaves you with enough time to save up money from your mission pay and standard pay. For those without clans and families, the Hokage himself has paid for that first month as a gift for all of you gaining the rank of genin, even those of you who have been in the shinobi forces for a year. I'm a genin too, so I won't be in the building all of the time, but I'll be keeping at least one shadow clone here at all times, so just let them know if you need anything and they'll let me know. As much as I'd like to say, do whatever, in your rooms, there are rules. Break furniture and you have to pay for it. You all have to at least keep your room sanitary enough to not pose a health risk, if you don't you get charged extra for the cleaning service. The blonde boy continued. You also have to keep your pets from doing their business inside. Arf. Akamaru barked in protest of the possible slight against his house training. I know that you know better, Akamaru, but these guys might get pets of their own at some point and they won't be ninkin smart. Naruto defended himself. With a small snort, the ninkin pup accepted that excuse. Now, onto facilities. There's a taijutsu sparring room on each floor, with a shuriken range and ranged jutsu practice area in the basement. Naruto started to relax when he noticed everyone was actually paying attention. It's sanctioned for anything up to mid-C rank. Anything higher rank you'll need to find a training ground to use unless you wanna risk bringing the building down on all our heads. You've all got free access to all the facilities except for the utilities area, all of which are clearly marked, and the second floor of the basement, the piping and other such is down there. This is for your safety and the Hokage's peace of mind. Okay then, any questions? How do we pay you our rent? Choji asked. You can either set up an automatic transfer of fund from your bank account to mine, or you can just pay in person. Naruto answered. Whichever way you want is fine, but I'd prefer cash in hand. Anything else? Yash. How much is our rent? The mini guy that was Rock Lee asked. One brow twitching at the huge eyebrows being wiggled in his direction, Naruto took a moment to take in the older boy's words. Wait, that should have been on the forms you all got. It's 1500 ryo per month, utilities not included. A fair price. Shino nodded. The amount was missing from the form my parents handed to me. I suspect the same was true for everyone else present. A murmur of agreement came up from everyone present. Huh. I'll have to let Gigi know about that. Naruto frowned. Do you all at least know what apartment you've been assigned? Fortunately, they all did. As they wandered off to unpack and get settled in their respective apartments, Naruto heaved a sigh and headed up to his own apartment. He wanted to double-check everything he'd gotten from Mizuki to make sure it was all in working order. And of course, he wanted to have a look at whatever jutsu were in the traitorous Chunin's scrolls. Thankfully, he was left alone by the various people wandering about his building, some of whom were almost certainly Anbu in disguise. His Gigi had told him that security here would be taken seriously and that a lot of the movers for the small clan and non-clan members of the graduating class would be there to ensure things didn't get unnecessarily messy, as the old Hokage put it. By that, Naruto assumed, he meant people placing monitoring seals where they weren't supposed to be. As the former Anbu HQ, the Amekage apartments had subtle and discreet monitoring seals emplaced in its corridors that would alert the one bound to them, and Anbu, if someone was wandering where they weren't supposed to be. Having some sloppy idiot putting up a half-arsed seal nearby would not be a good idea. Settling into one of his chairs, Naruto removed the scroll that had the jutsu sealed into it and rolled it out so he could specifically unseal them. A puff of chakra smoke later and he had 6 scrolls in his lap, making multiple windows pop up. You have acquired the Genjutsu, Moya Moya Jutsu scroll. You cannot learn this jutsu. Requirements. Skill, average chakra control. You have acquired the Doten, Dochu Igyo no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y.N. You have acquired the Genjutsu, Kasumi Jutsu scroll. You cannot learn this jutsu. Requirements. Skill, average chakra control. You have acquired the Doten, Doryuheiki no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y.N. You have acquired the Doten, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y.N. You have acquired the Kaiten, Kangakur no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y.N. Huh, so there were 2 Genjutsu and 4 ninjutsu in the mix. That was a bit disappointing, but he was sure that either Sakura-chan or Ino could make use of them, which meant they wouldn't go to waste at least. Setting those scrolls to the side and dismissing their screens, Naruto rapidly hit Y on the 4 others. You have successfully learned Doten, Dochu Igyo. Doten, Dochu Igyo no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%. Earth Style. Underground Projection Fish Jutsu is a standard C-rank Earth element jutsu that allows its user to sink into the earth and swim through it like a fish. When emerging from the earth, the user emerges totally silently and without disturbing the ground around or beneath them. Due to its utility for both stealth and combat applications, this jutsu is commonly known throughout the entirety of the ninja world. Hand signs. Dog, boar, snake, bird. Underground travel speed. Babies crawl. Costs 30 CP to activate and 5 CP minute to maintain. You have successfully learned Doten, Doryuheiki. Doten, Doryuheiki no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%. Earth Style. Earth Style Wall is one of the elemental wall techniques alongside Futon, Fujinheki, Kaden, Karyuheiki and Suiten, Sujinheki. Using it, the user can summon a defensive wall of mud, earth or rock in front of them to act as a shield. While it is possible for the user to create earth and/or mud from their own chakra instead of manipulating pre-existing mud and earth, it is not advised unless the user is at least Jonin rank and possesses a significant amount of experience with the technique. A skilled user of this jutsu can create a wall with a personalized design on it rather than a plain wall of stone or mud. Hand signs. Tiger hair boar dog. Durability points when created, 75. Costs 50 CP to create. You have successfully learned Doten, Shinju Zanshu. Doten, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, instant, LV1, 0%. Earth Style. Double Suicide Decapitation Jutsu, sometimes referred to as the Earth Style, Headhunter Jutsu, is a very old jutsu created to quickly incapacitate more powerful or heavily armored opponents from ambush. At its core, it is a very simple technique that is easy to execute and is very useful for AD rank jutsu. The user lurks underground and drags their target down into the ground up to their neck, whereupon the user can resurface and kill and/or torture their target with impunity. It should be noted that given sufficient time or enough pure brute strength, the target cannon will escape from this technique. Hand signs. None. When used, the user must be underground and their target must step within arm's reach of them. When the target is dragged into the earth, they are bound with bindings with a DP of 30. Should that DP be expended, they shall be able to remove themselves from their prison. Costs 30 CP to use. You have successfully learned Kaden, Kangakur. Kaden, Kangakur no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%. Fire Style. Hiding in fire jutsu is a fairly unusual concealment technique whereby the user is able to shroud themselves in chakra and hide within a nearby lit fire. Upon reappearing, it appears as if the user emerges from fire. Other rarer examples of concealment techniques would be Shimogakur no Jutsu, Gamagakur no Jutsu, Hyamengakur no Jutsu and Nunogakur no Jutsu. Hand signs. Tiger boar snake monkey. The user can only hide in fire of a certain size and above. The higher this jutsu's level is, the smaller the flame that the user can hide in. Current size. Bonfire. Costs 95 CP to activate and 10 CP minute to maintain. Yao. Naruto hiss out as he raised a hand to rub his throbbing head. The sudden influx of so much information was enough to actually hurt. Damn it, he couldn't catch a break, could he? Anyway, all of the jutsu looked pretty useful, with the possible exception of the Kangakur no Jutsu, simply because of how very, what's the kinda words Iruka-sensei would use. Ah yes, situational. It was a very situational jutsu, as fires were fairly uncommon in most places ninja were likely to go, with a few exceptions. Still, maybe if he got it to a high enough level it would be more useful, he'd practice with it and see. You never know when you might need a jutsu like that, after all. Ding. It's a landlord's life. Congratulations. You now have more than one tenant. With this condition cleared, the landlord system has been unlocked for your usage. You must be both tough and fair as landlord, balancing the legitimate complaints, concerns and problems of your tenants with your own needs and the priorities of your building as a whole. It is a tough balancing act, but you can consider it basic training for when you become Hokage. Landlord system unlocked. Tenant mood gauge unlocked. Building condition page unlocked. Rent monitoring system unlocked. Flicking through the newly unlocked pages, Naruto had to whistle. At the moment, aside from Asuma-sensei, all of the tenant gauges were at neutral. They were neither impressed nor dissatisfied with his actions as a landlord. Quite unsurprising as he'd only been their landlord for less than an hour. Asuma was at satisfied, which was nice. There hadn't been many problems that Naruto had needed to fix, and what few he'd needed to sort out had been basic maintenance on a few of the training rooms. The building condition page was rather informative. It showed a blueprint of the building and highlighted areas as green, yellow or red depending on their condition, according to a useful little legend that he had in one corner. Most of the building was a solid green color, with parts of it marked in yellow that he made a note of on a scroll to get his Gigi to send someone to look into them. While Naruto was called the landlord, he was technically only the landlord's representative. Once Naruto became a chunin, something he was definitely going to work towards, the Hokage was planning on transferring the ownership rights fully to him and then he'd be a proper landlord. Until then, the Hokage had to personally sign off on most work requiring hired help around the building. As for the rent monitoring system, it was all in the green, with a countdown timer to when the next payment of rent was due from each tenant. So very useful. I should go and see how everyone's doing. Naruto decided once he'd finished reading the new screens he could access. It was pretty obvious that there would be tensions between the genin, both new and old, especially since they weren't used to being around each other in a private setting for a long period of time. No sooner had he stepped outside of his apartment than the sound of yelling was audible. Cocking his head slightly, Naruto guessed it was between Kiba and Ino. What the heck was going on now to have those two at loggerheads with one another? Jogging down the stairs to where Kiba's room was on the ground floor, Naruto frowned as he wondered why Ino was down here when her room was on the first floor, like the rest of the girls were. You're trash all over me. Ino shouted as Naruto reached the bottom of the stairs. Screw you. Kiba growled back. The two of them were practically nose to nose in front of Kiba's room, with a lot of dreck, mostly dog treats and sticks, all over the floor, with some on Ino's clothes and hair. Most of the other residents of the building were also present, looking on as the two shouted at one another. Do I want to know what this is about? The blonde landlord asked the corridor at large with a sigh. Kiba-kun accidentally spilled some of his stuff on Ino-san. Hinata managed to get out. The brunette poked her pointer fingers together as she spoke, clearly nervous. Ino-san, didn't appreciate it. So I can see. Thanks for the sitrep, Hinata. Naruto said with a smile that made the Hyuga heiress face redden into the same hue as a tomato. Okay, calm the hell down, both of you. The blonde boy said loudly as he stepped between the two shouting genin and pushing them apart. Seriously, you've both been here for less than an hour and you're already fighting like cats and dogs. Back off, Dobi, this isn't your business. Kiba snarled. I'm the landlord and you're causing a fuss in my building. That makes it my business. Naruto shot back. Let's get something straight. Kiba, in this building, I'm the alpha, get it? As Kiba blinked in surprise, Naruto mentally patted himself on the back. Doing a bit of research about the Inuzuka clan had paid off. Kiba was an alpha, someone who was supposed to lead inside the Inuzuka clan, a trait they picked up from their long association with their Ninken companions. Kiba bowed to his mother, who was the dominant alpha of the Inuzuka clan. He bowed to Jonin and Chunin because they legitimately outranked him in the greater pack, that was Konoha. He had never felt that Naruto outranked him and probably considered himself to be Naruto's superior. That being the case. Yeah right, Dobi. Kiba snorted, proving Naruto right. Landlord, maybe, but no way are you an alpha. Fine then. You and me in that training room over there. Naruto jerked his head towards the ground floor training room nearby. Winner's the best 2 out of 3. I win, you accept my position and stop acting like a jerk in the building. I lose, you can do as you please. You seriously think you can beat me? The Inuzuka heir growled, exposing his teeth in an attempt at intimidation. I came second in our class in taijutsu, you were barely the middle. What happens in the academy stays in the academy, dog boy. Naruto retorted. Welcome to the real world, where little rankings like that don't really matter anymore. He noticed Sakura look slightly annoyed for a moment before she shrugged. Ha. Fine, have it your way. Kiba sneered. Sure, if you win, you're the alpha of this place. Not like it'll happen. No Akamaru to help you out, Kibble. Naruto prodded. To take care of you, I don't need him. The other boy growled. Let's get this sorted out already. Shrugging, Naruto led the way to the training room, which was up to date and looked as if it had been transplanted from the academy's indoor taijutsu sparring area. Then the pop-up appeared. Quest alert. Proving who's top dog. Inuzuka Kiba is in serious need of an attitude adjustment and you have challenged him to a taijutsu spar in order to force him to acknowledge your position as landlord. Quest objective. Defeat Inuzuka Kiba. Bonus objective. Defeat Inuzuka Kiba while using Ninpo, Kitsunarisu no Binsho. Quest reward. Plus 100 reputation with Inuzuka Kiba, plus 5000 Ryo, random Kimono Clan Jutsu Scroll. Bonus quest reward. Rogaken Jutsu Scroll, plus 5000 Ryo, rarity system unlocked. Quest failure. A serious amount of embarrassment. Quest has automatically been accepted. That was rather interesting. A rarity system. Naruto guessed that it had to do with weapons, armor, clothes and jutsu scrolls. It would be interesting to see how this played out. But first. Hey, Lee. Naruto called out to the taijutsu specialist. You referee this. Yosha. I shall put my most youthful efforts toward it, Uzumaki-san. The boy declared with a raised clenched fist. Wah. Both Naruto and Kiba blinked at his unusual usage of the term, youthful. Just let it go, he takes after Gai-sensei way too much. Tenten called. Shrugging, Naruto moved to a few feet opposite Kiba and assumed the standard ready position of Hokage taijutsu. Kiba would likely use his family's taijutsu techniques, especially the nin taijutsu portion. He was very predictable that way, always charging in head first at full strength. And, sure enough. Ready, begin. Lee announced. Giju Ninpo, Shikyaku no Jutsu. Imitation Beast Ninja Art, 4 legs Jutsu. Kiba snarled, his stance becoming stooped and feral as the technique took a hold of him. Then he rushed at Naruto at a greater speed than he could normally manage, swiping with his clawed hands. Naruto blocked one, dodged another and redirected a third, backing up slightly as he focused entirely on defense. Kiba, frustrated that he was apparently being played with by his opponent, used a reverse scissor strike to force Naruto's arms to splay open before trying to drive a fist into his gut, only to be blocked by a raised knee. What? He managed to exclaim before the foot attached to that knee snapped out and slammed into his side painfully, forcing him back a step. Then Naruto went on the attack, driving punches and kicks into the Inuzuka before grabbing his arm and executing a very precise throw that left Kiba sprawled on his back, gasping for breath. First round goes to Naruto-kun. Lee bellowed, making Kiba wince and cover his ears. Lee. Inside voice. Tenten scolded him. Sorry, Tenten-san. Scrambling to his feet after he got his breath back, Kiba glared at Naruto angrily. He might have underestimated him then, but now he'd show that Dobihu was boss. Let's start again, he snarled. Naruto simply assumed the defensive stance he'd taken before again and flicked 2 fingers at him, as if to say, bring it, to his opponent. Naturally, Kiba saw red. Why you, take this. He shouted, barely waiting for Rock Lee to begin the fight. Suga. Passing Fang. Leaping off of the ground, the boy span around into a drill that leapt forward towards Naruto, who jumped to the side, allowing his enemy to pass by his former position. The Suga was the single-person version of the Gatsuga, a combination jutsu involving an Inuzuka's Ninken. Because only one being was involved, the technique suffered an accordingly large power drop. It was something that Kiba had obviously not trained in as much as the Gatsuga, otherwise Naruto wouldn't have been able to avoid it like that. Humph. This is a poor showing by both sides. Hyuga Neji jeered. I dunno what match you're watching, but Naruto just kicked Kiba's ass while using the basic Hokage style of the academy. Tenten deadpanned. He teammate could be such an ass sometimes. He has to have mastered the Hokage style, at least the basic and intermediate versions, in order to do that. Outwardly ignoring his Kunoichi teammate's words, Neji narrowed his eyes at Naruto as the blonde dodged another Suga. What Tenten had said was very true. Mastery of the basic and intermediate styles of the Hokage style was without doubt a requirement to manhandle Inuzuka Kiba in such a manner. However, Neji was an expert at reading people's movements due to his prodigious talent at the art of Juken, gentle fist, and he could see some definite traces of the advanced style of Hokage in the blonde boy's movements. It matters not. Fate has declared him to lose, the arrogant boy thought dismissively. Sure enough, Naruto was knocked down by Kiba seconds later, albeit by a hair's breadth. Second round to Kiba-kun. Lee declared. Ha! How'd you like that, Dobi? Kiba crowed. Naruto flipped himself back to his feet and stretched himself slightly. Okay, I think it's time to stop playing around, he said before making the tiger, horse and monkey hand signs. Ninpo, Kitsunarisu no Binsho. At his words, the boy crouched forward, a faint sheen of chakra outlining his body as it stretched and his limbs audibly popped. After a moment of silent staring, Naruto shot Lee an expectant look. Oh. The boy shook himself. Final round, begin. Naruto seemed to teleport across the room and start launching quick barrage of punches of fairly powerful punch directly at Kiba, who was desperately blocking them and backing up at the same time. Huh, a speed-oriented version of the Shikyaku no Jutsu. Tenten muttered, interested. What the heck is with this? Kiba thought as he was forced to retreat yet again. Naruto hadn't shown this kind of skill in the academy. Even if he'd given Mizuki-sensei a hard time in the taijutsu test, he hadn't been nearly this fast. He was the Inuzuka clan heir. He was an alpha. There was no way that he could lose to the likes of Naruto. Suga. He roared desperately and tried to spin into the drill of his technique. Before he could though, Naruto's hands shot out and grabbed him by the wrists and threw him onto his back yet again. Yosh. The final round goes to Naruto-kun. Rock Lee declared, in awe of the most youthful taijutsu match he'd just refereed. He couldn't wait to tell Gai-sensei about it. Kiba looked up at the ceiling in utter defeat. He'd lost. Not only that, he'd lost so obviously that all of his anger had fled him. Damn. Naruto really kicked my butt, he thought wryly. You okay, Kiba? Naruto asked. Looking up, the Inuzuka heir saw his former opponent standing above him. Rolling over and standing up, Kiba winced at the ache in his arms. Naruto hit as hard as his sister did, which was pretty damn good considering Hana was a Chunin, even if she was primarily the Inuzuka clan's vet. Yeah, I'm good, Kiba said ruefully. Damn, you hit like an out-of-control cart. You've been holding back in spars at the academy. Maybe a little. Naruto grinned. Always keep an ace up your sleeve for when you need it. You need to practice your Suga more. I shouldn't have been able to dodge you at that distance. Yeah, sheesh, you're nagging me just like Ka-san. Kiba grumbled as Akamaru leapt back into his arms. You won, and I keep to my word. You're the alpha of these apartments. Good. Naruto nodded before turning to the other person who had been arguing. Ino, what were you doing on the ground floor? I was gonna look in on Shikamaru to make sure he didn't just unpack his futon and go to sleep. The Yamanaka heiress huffed. Troublesome girl. The black-haired boy muttered. What was that? Ino roared at her childhood friend. Inside voice, Ino. Naruto winced alongside most of the others. Kiba, apologize to Ino for getting her dirty and try not to wander around with Drek loose in your arms in future. They were Akamaru's things. Kiba grumbled before begrudgingly apologizing to Ino, who accepted it and stormed off to have a shower and change clothes. Shooing everyone else off now that the spectacle was over with, Naruto returned to his apartment and started to pay attention to the pop-up that had appeared once Kiba admitted his loss. Quest complete. Proving who's top dog. Inuzuka Kiba was in serious need of an attitude adjustment and you have soundly defeated him, earning his respect in the process. Well done. Quest reward. Plus 100 reputation with Inuzuka Kiba, plus 5000 Ryo, Ninpo, Sino Kawa Jutsu Scroll. Bonus quest reward. Rogaken Jutsu Scroll, plus 5000 Ryo, rarity system unlocked. Congratulations. Your relationship with Inuzuka Kiba has advanced to friendly. Pleased with his achievement, Naruto focused on the two jutsu he'd earned. Skin of the Rhino, and Wolf Fang Fist, EH. Both of them sounded cool, but Naruto was more tempted by the more offensive-sounding one. Unfortunately, you cannot learn Rogaken as you do not meet the requisite jutsu or skill levels to do so. Required jutsu skills. Ninpo, Kitsunarisu no Binsho, LV20, any one other jutsu of the Kimono clan at LV20. Well that sucks. Naruto grumbled. He only had Kitsunarisu no Binsho, at level 5 because he rarely used it, which had come back to bite him on the ass right now. That really left only one choice for him to learn. Congratulations. You have successfully learned Ninpo, Sai no Kawa. Ninpo, Sai no Kawa, active, LV1, 0%. Ninja Art. Rhino Skin is a defensive jutsu of the Kimono clan, designed to protect the user from weak and non-chakra-based attacks from simple threats like normal wild animals, bandits, and thugs, so the user can either quickly plow through them or focus on more dangerous threats. The user's skin assumes the defensive traits of a rhino to repel weaponry and taijutsu attacks. A basic level D ranked jutsu for genin ranked members of the Kimono clan. Hand signs. Monkey, horse, snake, ox. Grants all of the user's skin natural armor of 5 while active. Lowers dex by 10 while active. Costs 40 CP to activate and 5 CP per minute to maintain. Huh, not bad. Naruto blinked. Kind does the opposite of what Kitsunarisu no Binsho does, slowing me down and improving my defenses. Hopefully that dex reduction will go away as I level it up. Getting up, he moved to the kitchen and inspected the cupboards. He'd have to do some shopping in the next couple of days, but he was good for tonight at least. Returning to his seat, he opened the pop-up about the new system that had been unlocked by his victory. Rarity system. All items in the world will be ranked by their rarity from here on out. The rarer an item, the more valuable it is. Weapons, armor, regular items and jutsu scrolls are just some of the things that this system affects. Be warned, however, that simply because an item is rare does not always equate to powerful or useful. There are several tiers of rarity. Trash. This tier includes broken, rusted and abandoned items. A legendary item that has been poorly maintained or abandoned will eventually degrade to this tier. Some might be fixable if you have a craftsman of appropriate skill level to do so. Common. This tier involves items that are frequent sights in the world, including disposable weaponry such as kunai and shuriken, as well as basic clothing and E-rank jutsu scrolls. Uncommon. This tier is a slight step up from common, with the items being slightly less of frequent sight in basic society. This includes kunai swords, katana, chikudo, ninjutsu, D-rank jutsu scrolls and certain types of body armor. Rare. This tier involves items that are hard to find even among the various countries of the elemental nations. These can include zanbato, certain country-restricted jutsu scrolls and other items. Super rare. Even rarer than rare items. These are usually items made by master craftsmen in very limited quantities, usually no more than a dozen or so. Note that a mastercrafted item is not automatically super rare. Legendary. The highest tier attainable as of this update. Legendary items are usually one of a kind items used, worn or carried by legendary figures in famous battles. A few examples would be the 7 Swords of the Mist, the necklace of the Shadaime Hokage, several summoning contracts and other items of this sort. Huh. I wonder. Naruto muttered. He opened his inventory and checked his weapons for their rarity. Tsubaki and Sumair were both rated as uncommon, as was that Konoha chakra blade he'd gotten immediately after the second system update. Kogetsu Kyushiki, on the other hand, was the only rare weapon that he had. The storm suit, which was going to be his C rank and up uniform, was also rare, which was interesting. Most of his other items, weapons and clothing were either common, or uncommon, which was to be expected considering he was only a genin. Jutsu scroll-wise, he was amused to see that all of the futon jutsu scrolls were rated as being rare, which made sense. Out of all of the 5 basic elements, the wind element was the rarest of them all, making most jutsu for that element fairly hard to come by. Aside from jutsu for Kekkei Genkei, that is. Tomorrow's my first day as a genin taking missions. I'd better go out and see about learning that Sweden jutsu that Iruka-sensei told me about, the Jinchuriki thought with a slight frown. Knowing my luck, painting fences'll be one of the missions Asuma-sensei makes us do. After making sure he had everything he needed, Naruto headed out to the back of the Amekage apartments, which had its own back garden, including a modest pond. It was here that he tried his luck at learning Suigen Suima. The first few times were less than successful, getting him soaked as the water just seemed to swamp him in a sort of aborted wave, which sucked. Undeterred, he kept trying. Eventually, after what he'd estimated to have been his 20th or 30th go at it. Congratulations! You have successfully learned Suigen Suima no Jutsu. Suigen Suigen Suima no Jutsu, instant active, LV1, 0%. Water style. Water Army Water Demon, otherwise known as Water Style, Marine Battle Formation, is high D rank jutsu that borders on low C rank. It allows the user to manipulate a large amount of water into a powerful, spiraling stream that can be directed and manipulated by the user to strike its target from a multitude of different angles. While it is mostly used to act as an impromptu fire service jutsu in an emergency nowadays, its utility in battle cannot be understated. Two people executing the jutsu at once can double the effectiveness of the technique so long as they act in concert. Hand signs. Boar dog horse tiger. Range. Up to 5 meters away. Requires pre-existing source of water to be used. Volume of water controllable, bucketful. Deals int *WIS 50 water damage to targets. Costs 50 CP to use and 10 CP per minute to maintain. If used by 2 people in concert, double the amount of water manipulated and the damage dealt by the highest leveled user. Cool. Naruto grinned before his stomach rumbled. Better get some lunch in me, it's past the time of day. Chuckling, the blonde boy headed back in to get started on his lunch and then practice his fuinjutsu. This would be the last day he'd have the luxury of lounging around like this. After all, he'd be on duty as a member of Konoha's shinobi forces starting tomorrow. He couldn't wait.